In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. I'm hanging out in the Vivid Seats studios with my homeboys tonight. Cody Lashney in the house. How you doing?
Tony Dunn. We have made it through 6 weeks of professional football. Holy shit, we are on to a bye. The chat room is lit. Underground West, Antoine Anderson, Ken Dye, Legacy Lynn. Everything is rolling. I'm here wanting to talk about some Panther football. Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Who else we got in here tonight? CK's in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Living the dream, man. Feeling a little under the weather, but not emotionally, just physically.
Well, you should be happy because the Panthers are on a 4-game win streak, and things are looking up right now, except for the conversation tonight will not be one just of celebration, but the continued hair pulling out. You don't got any hair. You've already pulled it all out based on the Cam Newton conversation. Greg might pull his beard out. Look, he already pulled his hair out, too. He might pull his beard out after we start talking about this Cam stuff. Greg, the Bat Daddy, or should I call you the Stat Daddy? How you doing, my friend?
Yeah.
I'm doing great, man, but you always set me up after Cody squared, and I can't match what they have to say. So I'm just glad that we're halfway through the season almost. We are in a position to win the division, and we have the third best record in the NFL right now. So,
I like it. We'll be Cody, tell them what we're going to be talking about tonight. You said some pretenders. Are we trying to figure out who's real and who these pretenders are?
Yeah, so if you've been listening to me on the show, I have this theory that you don't see what teams are legitimate until after week 6 of the NFL season, and that is where we are right now. So we're going to go over who we think the actual pretenders versus the real contenders, who they are in the NFL right now. And I think we have some differing opinions, so that'll make a fun discussion.
We're also going to be talking about Cam Newton and the story that has come out with Mike Freeman saying there could be upwards of 10 teams willing to trade for him, and the idea that the Panthers could be considering, or at least I don't even know how to say it in the way without just getting mad about it. But the idea is that will Cam Newton come back? When does he come back? And what will that situation look like if Kyle Allen keeps winning? We'll peek a little bit back at this Buccaneers win right here, talk a little Dennis Daly. And also tonight, guys, we've got Peter Panacy with the Niner Noise, a longtime friend of the show, going to come on. And already we got a long time with the bye week ahead of us, but we're already preparing for this Niners team. So if you guys are ready to talk Panthers, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the podcast, and remember, if you're trying to get to a game, check out Vivid Seats and use the promo code OVERTIME. They can save you up to $100 on your first ticket purchase. That's Vivid Seats, promo code OVERTIME. Let's get into it, guys. We can't not. I don't know if there will be a time. In fact, I've been saying this, is that until Cam Newton is not a Panther, and even probably after that for a while, there may not be a show we ever lead with anything but Cam discussion. It's been this way for 8 years. I see it for the rest of the time here. The Panthers win, guys. We extend the win streak to 4-0. And then some rumors with an Adam Schefter report saying, I don't know what it said, guys. What have you guys heard about the Cam stuff before I tell you what I've heard?
So everything that I've heard is that one anonymous AFC executive said that he knows at least 10 teams would be interested in trading for Cam Newton, which says a lot of really high-up people in the NFL believe.
Do you believe
Cam
that?
Newton has juice left to him. Well, I mean, listen, this is just what people report. These executives, they'll talk to people that they know in the media and anonymously. But do I believe? Yeah, listen, I believe there are certainly people that would kick the bucket on Cam Newton at this point in time. You're going to tell me if you're the Tennessee Titans that you wouldn't love to have Cam Newton on your football team? I mean, they benched Marcus Mariota. the Bears. I mean, there's a lot of people that still believe in Cam Newton, and the report even said that people inside the Panthers building believes that Cam has something left as well. So that's at least something to throw in there.
89J Stubbs, thanks for the support. $3.99 love bomb in the chat room. It's when we talking about this, 10 teams. First of all, I think this is all blowhard kind of shit. I think this is guys puffing off at the mouth a little bit. Is that how do you calculate 10 teams? Of course 10 teams would be interested if it was a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick. Is it 2 first round pick? Right? I mean, these are weird questions. What is most interesting to me about this, guys, is that this shows that Cam Newton is like, why are people turning the page on him? Why are people turning the page on Cam Newton? And that goes out to Panther fans. The idea that, like, what we don't even know, like, that tells us that he can only be so hurt.
Well, you know, the thing that bothers me the most about this article, actually didn't bother me the most, is the fact that Adam Schefter said it. Because if you're going to take something to the bank in the NFL or some kind of rumor, that's the guy you want to listen to, man. He's got a good inside deal on what's going on, and he's usually pretty right when he brings something up. Like, he didn't put his name on something without having some kind of validity to it. So if he says that, that means there's definitely been talks and there's been inquiries into what could happen if Cam Newton didn't come back and if we got rid of him. And that bothers me because that means, for me, it's more of a real deal.
CK, what have you heard about this?
You know, so there's a couple of things. Schefter's report, if I'm not mistaken, obviously they talk about the trade part of it, but I also believe that he talks about Cam Newton returning after the bye to practice. So there's a positive spin that's involved there. Now, what I think is important to note with that report is it doesn't say Carolina is fielding these offers. It just says there is interest. Now, the issue that I have, and I think anybody in their right mind would be able to agree, if you put Cam Newton and Kyle Allen up on the block, nobody's going to be going after Kyle Allen for a trade. They're going to be going after Cam Newton for a trade.
Right.
Yeah. Let's be honest.
So, listen, I just want to jump in here, man. Listen, I hate media in general. I hate sports pundits. I hate political pundits. They're all two-faced idiots that have an agenda that, and they're just spewing this word vomit at you. And there's hardly no truth to it. I mean, you have people like Willie McGinnis and people on NFL Network talking about, oh, but this is Kyle Allen's team. You can't go back to Cam Newton after what Kyle Allen's done, because the same old shit that we've heard for years now. Cam Newton is inaccurate. Cam Newton can't hit the middle of the field. Cam Newton isn't going to be able to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey like Kyle Allen is. And it's all BS, man. There's like a built-in bias against Cam Newton. And the fact that no one is having the discussion that Teddy Bridgewater should be the long-term quarterback for the Saints, I mean, come on. It tells you the different standard that these two are held to. So, I mean, listen, my opinion on this is well known, but this is still Cam Newton's football team. And as of right now, there's not really even, in my mind, a discussion to be had. Because after all this shit that I talked about Ron Rivera, I don't believe that he's going to deny Cam Newton the starting job when he's healthy and ready to play.
I just want to go ahead and put this to bed. The idea that the Panthers would be considering trading Cam Newton or even not starting him when he's not healthy is the dumbest crap I've ever heard in my life. And I want to remind people that Kyle Allen, thank you very much for what you've done. I'm rooting for you to be great. I want you to be undefeated. I want the Panthers win the Super Bowl. I don't care if you're hoisting the trophy. But I promise you this, I'm not going to forget what Cam Newton does and has done for this team for the last decade. And what you cannot just tell me that this idea, the flavor of the week, that's what it is what have you done for me lately is the issue here. And it is, we haven't seen Cam Newton in a year really playing at an elite level. Okay, I can remember a year ago. I know that Cam Newton can do all of the shit that Kyle Allen has done to this point. I'm thankful Kyle Allen has played well. I'm thankful that he has helped us and contributed to winning 4 games. But I know that Cam Newton could do the same damn thing and a lot more. And it's not a knock on Kyle Allen. We cannot just, you cannot, the analogy, guys, is that if you're a married man and you're in a good marriage, like I am with my wife, we've been together, married 13 years now, right? That woman has helped me become the man I am, and she makes me better every day of my life. But I can't, if the first 20-something-year-old that cuts me some eyes and smiles at me and is, I mean, yeah, maybe they're kind of cute, maybe they got a decent personality, but to think that you just jump ship and go off with this young little girl and that you're going to be better for it, it's a mistake. And before you kick your woman to the curb, we got to remember, Kamina, Auntie Cam, all of it, we love you.
And I just want to jump in and say one more thing real quick here. And I believed what I said at the start of this season, that you have not seen the best version of Cam Newton that there is to have. Okay, but he injures his foot in the preseason, and then all the work that he's put into changing the way he plays, it derailed the whole process. I'm saying Cam Newton has put his body through too much and done too much for this football team, for him to be denied the opportunity to present the best version of himself for this football team and for his teammates. I love what Kyle Allen is doing, but anyone that thinks Kyle Allen is doing something that Cam Newton can't do, I question how much you know about football. And that's all the people who get paid money to talk about this as well.
Go ahead, CK.
So one of the things that I love this, being able to show how biased as not only a society, but as a NFL organization, the media, fans are. So I want you to put 2 things in perspective. Cam Newton had a really bad second half of the season last year because of an injury, right?
Correct.
Drew Brees had a bad half of the season, end of the season last year as well, just based on fatigue, right? So Drew Brees comes in, he gets hurt pretty early on this season. Well, because he's going to be back later, they're crowning them because, well, now we won't see that fatigue later on. He's going to be fresh for the postseason. But what are we hearing with, and they've run 4 in a row with Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater hasn't been fantastic. Their offense hasn't been super efficient, by any stretch. It's just the team is winning. But with Kyle Allen, all of a sudden, he is the future. Cam Newton needs to go to the wayside, when in all reality, if I'm looking at it from the same perspective, Cam Newton should come back as fresh as possible and with as little wear and tear for the postseason when it comes around. So if you're looking at this from any other perspective and you think Drew Brees coming back is going to be an asset to that team when he had the exact same slump last year, and just his team was a little better, then I think there is a bias and you need to look inward to find out why you're feeling that way.
Here's Ron Rivera. Here's Ron Rivera on Cam.
Ron, there's a report from last night from Adam Schefter about Cam Newton returning to practice after the bye week. Can you confirm that report?
No, I can't. The problem with it is, Cam has epitomized, what we asked of him of being a captain. He's been there in support of his teammates. He's been around. And when we met, when we first got together and talked about this, we told him, hey, we're not going to put pressure on you. We're going to hold tight. We'll hold the fort down. Our guys will play. So until he's 100%, until he's ready to roll, we're not going to address it. I mean, he's done everything we've asked, and and the people have been well, Wagner's not been around. He's been around. We just don't want him standing on the sideline for 4.5 hours, for no reason. And that's the unfair thing about it. We didn't want to take him on an 8.5-hour, 9-hour flight. So I think people need to understand that the young man's done everything we've asked. I'm trying to stay true to what I told him. I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on. And so until we have it confirmed with our doctors and stuff like that, we're going to, continue to do what we're doing. You have to be. You say.
All right, so there's Ron Rivera on the Cam Newton situation. There's just one thing continued is that Smokewagon at Smokewagon_SZN. I'm pretty sure that he may have written for us at one time. He said this: they were moving on. This is on Twitter, and this caused the biggest fight one of the biggest fights I've been on in like a month. They were moving on from him after this year, healthy or not. Roughly 20 million reasons why. Everyone thinks this is sudden based on the injury, when in fact the injury just moved up the timetable. This was the plan when they invested a third-round pick into Will Grier. And I just call bullshit completely on that perspective. Is the idea that our plan had something longer. Ron Rivera and Marty Herney, if Cam, their whole plan this year was if Cam didn't work, they likely were out of a job. They are very fortunate at this point that things are going well, and right now we're not. Things are going on the uptick. But if we would have lost all these games to this point, even if we were close, no more Ron Rivera, no more Marty Herney, no more Kyle Allen. It would have been a completely new era. So that's that. Peter Panacy is here. He came in early. I thought we had 15 minutes from now. Pete from NinerNoise.com. Welcome back to the C3 Panthers podcast.
What's going, guys? Can you hear me all right?
We can.
Loud and clear.
Perfect. That's what I want to hear.
And we'll take a brief break from this and we'll pivot to the 49ers for a few minutes and since you're here. And let's ask this is, you guys are on a winning streak too. Except for this one, I don't know. Did you expect this team to start out with the success that they have?
No, not at all. I think a lot of us were looking at the start of the schedule and probably thought, you get to 5 games in, probably thought maybe 3-2 would be really, really good. Niners started off their season with 2 straight road games, one down in Tampa Bay. And I don't think anybody really thought the Bucs would be good, but that's down in the Florida heat and humidity. Road games are always tough. Niners haven't won on the road in a while. Steelers at home in week 3. At that time, nobody thought Ben Roethlisberger would be out, but he was out. And I think a lot of people looked at the Rams as the team to beat in the NFC West for sure, and arguably even the entire conference. So to start off 5-0 is quite the surprise. And if you're the 49ers, it's time to start getting greedy. Start looking at pulling off these games, not letting up off the gas pedal.
So we brought you in because we're on a bye week this week, but when we come off the bye, we have to travel to San Francisco. So there's a little time, and the team and the dynamics of you guys will change before then. But right now, San Francisco has to make a trip east to go to Washington, which you would think will be quick and easy work. You want to try to get out of there healthy there, but you guys haven't been playing the best teams so far, and you continue to get another easy one here. Pete, do you need a statement from your team going on the road telling everyone they are for real? I mean, I don't think the Redskins are the team to do it against. I mean, the Rams were the one that kind of made you for real.
Yeah, and I think, you look at these last 2 teams, the Browns and the Rams. The first 3 weeks I would have said, okay, you're playing some so at best squads, Mason Rudolph and the Steelers. But I mean, everybody was talking about the Browns this offseason. They were jumping up and down saying they're FC North champions. And the Browns pummeled the Ravens the week before they played the 49ers. And the Niners held them to 3 points, 31-3. I mean, that was a pretty big statement game on Monday Night Football. And Baker Mayfield's passer rating was like 13 or 17 or something, like on just a ridiculously low amount that you don't see. And then, of course, the Rams, they were banged up, but so are the 49ers. The 49ers are banged up too, or down 2 starting tackles, Mike McGlinchey and Joe Staley, short in the secondary as well. So I think these last 2 games have been statement games. Of course, when you start to look at the back end of this schedule, teams like the Panthers, teams like the Ravens, you got the Packers looming, the Saints are looming as well. Those are the games that people are going to pay attention to. But again, if you're San Francisco, like I said, now's the time to get greedy.
Peter, this is Cody. How are you, man?
What's happening, Cody? How you doing?
Chilling, man. So we're going to do a segment later on tonight that I've kind of teased. And I have this theory that in the NFL, you don't see who the real contenders are until after week 6. We've seen so many teams just fall off a cliff, so many really strong teams to start, and then they just fizzle out. Well, right now, I'm kind of trying to figure out what the 49ers are. Are they a legitimate contender to win that division? Or is another Russell Wilson-led Seahawks team going to win the NFC West? Right now, what is your biggest area of concern for this 49ers football team? You have that vaunted defensive line, but what about your offense and your team as a whole? Do you feel confident that this is a winning football team as we get into the month of November?
Yeah, I think you do. Yeah, I have to think that way.
Of course.
The 49ers are going in with it's so interesting because you look at a Kyle Shanahan-led offense and you think it's going to be, dynamic passing and a really intricately timed offense. And, you remember what Matt Ryan and the Falcons were doing back in 2016. But what the 49ers have turned into this year is a run the ball down your throat, play stout defense, get after the quarterback with 4-man rushes, take pressure off the secondary. There's a 3-headed monster at running back with Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert, and Tevin Coleman. And the Niners have run the ball. I don't know in terms of – I think they're still close to the top, but entering Sunday, they were averaging 200 rush yards a game. That's insane. And, all these other teams out there with dynamic offenses, teams that can move the ball through the air, like the Saints when Drew Brees comes back. I'm not going to use the Falcons as an example because they're terrible, but what you think the Falcons could do, all the Niners are doing right now is saying, we're not going to let you on the field. We're going to run the ball and pick up 5-6 yards per carry. And then when you're on the field, there's 5 defensive linemen who were drafted in the first round. And so those guys are going to be swarming. The other thing, too, to keep in mind about that, defense travels, usually a good running game travels. So when the Niners wind up having some of these tough road contests, those are going to be the aspects that wind up going on. And if that's the formula, if people stay relatively healthy, the Niners have been tested injury-wise already, but if people stay relatively healthy, they're going to be a contender. Seahawks are dangerous, of course. They're 1 game behind the 49ers, or a half game. They played 1 more game, but they have a loss. So they're dangerous, but there's a lot on that team that's just Russell Wilson, and their defense is so at best. So those will be 2 fun games down the stretch as far as the NFC West is concerned.
Hey Pete, this is the Bat Daddy, man. How you doing, bud?
What's up, Batty? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Going on to what Cody was saying earlier about we're going to do our segment later with pretenders and contenders, and while I look at the 49ers, and I agree, you guys have an amazing rushing attack, and you have a really legit defense. If you got, like you said, you got 5 first-rounders on the front line, and that's amazing. I look at y'all's division, and I look at the Seahawks and the Niners, who have 1 loss between the 2 teams. Neither one of y'all have played a team that's over 500, with the exception of the Seahawks. They played the Ravens, and they lost to them. So when I look at, I've got to see more. I've got to see more of contending teams fighting against this division before I put my faith in this division, because the Seahawks are good every year. I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback. He's first ballot Hall of Famer. But I'm just looking through y'all's schedule right now, y'all's schedule and the Seahawks schedule, and y'all have played nobody, like absolute nobodies. And I'm not saying that y'all are not a good team, y'all are fake, but I want to see y'all play somebody that is actually at least 500 before I start to put my eggs in that basket, because the competition means a lot. I think what you guys finished last year?
It was 4 wins, 4-12.
You'll have a last place schedule, so y'all should have an easy schedule ahead of you. So what do you think? And I know this is kind of touching on what you were just talking about. Do you think that they're going to continue when they start to see more competition to dominate like they are, because they're dominating right now? A lot of teams are playing, or do you think they're going to kind of regress to the mean as the season goes on?
Well, it's projecting way far out. The Rams were above a 500 team until Sunday. Shot them down to 500. It's by Jared Goff. Oh, you can't use play action. Now what? But, I mean, I think a lot of 49er fans want to see that, based off what you've seen from the offense and from the defense. I mean, the pass offense hasn't been overly dynamic. Niners are still waiting for a wide receiver to step up, but hey, George Kittle's doing good. So you're going to be circling those games like the Ravens in December. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but that's going to be a winter game in Baltimore. The Packers, the Saints, the Seahawks,
the Panthers.
The Panthers coming to town. If that was, I would be
our defense
exceptionally worried on the road for that game. At home, I don't know how well Carolina's traveling this year, but
we're traveling well.
Okay.
Our home games are where we stink. Is that
weird how that works? Some years it's like, what's going on? So, but I mean, the second half of the schedule is brutal, and I was going on CanBR, the 49ers flagship station, just before the regular season started, and just looking at the back end of San Francisco's schedule, you look at those final 5 games at Baltimore, at New Orleans, home against the Falcons. Falcons are playing like a Pop Warner team, versus the Rams. The Rams aren't as good as we thought, and then at Seattle. Those last 5 games, and then the last 6 games in Week 12, it's hosting the Packers. So that stretch is going to be a real challenge for San Francisco. So I agree with you. I mean, there's going to be a need for that. I won't say a statement game. I think the 49ers have made statements the last 2 weeks by dominating their opponents, but now the next challenge is you need to go up against a team that is maybe a 1 or a 2 loss team this deep in the season, and either win a tough, gritty, hard fought game, because that's a statement. If Carolina and the Niners are going back and forth, winds up being a 24-21 game, or same thing with the Packers, or one of those Seahawks games, same thing, then that would be a statement win of another kind. And I think that's kind of be the next step for the 49ers in order to kind of keep that, hey, look, you're at the top of the league right now as far as where your standings are.
Okay.
Kind of a round question, but try to answer it as best I can.
No, you're
hey,
good,
this is CK. Man, I just wanted to. This is going to be. I'm going to start out with a statement. I think that all Panthers fans can understand. We were in the exact same boat in 2015. Oh, they're not really playing anybody good. Wait till they get to Seattle. Wait till they get to Green Bay. Wait till they get to the Colts. Wait till they. And so everybody had that same mentality. Oh, they're the weakest undefeated team out there, and then all of a sudden we go 15-1 that season, get to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's fair to write them out quite yet. Now, at this point, I think it is fair to say, the 500 thing. Yeah, the Rams were above 500, absolutely, before you guys faced them. But Jared Goff is also in the bottom 10 as far as quarterback rating over the past 10 games. So, I mean, they've been winning in spite of him rather than because of him, and obviously not having Gurley. But that's not to take away from the fact that you guys dominated every aspect of that game. It wasn't just a clear cut. We took one piece away. You took every piece away that they could have possibly put out there. Did the same thing to the Browns. I think that it's fair to say that it's dangerous to underestimate the 49ers. I do think that it's fair to say that not this week against the Redskins, but your test against the Panthers with that defense going against Shaw's defense, it's going to be an interesting day, and I'm really excited to see it. But nonetheless, I just wanted to make a statement, no question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that it's actually good, and I remember this from 2015, the Panthers use that to their advantage. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of chatter saying, you guys haven't played anybody. Look at your schedule. The teams that you've gone up against aren't that good. And I can't remember where I read it, but there was – maybe it was on Bleacher Report or something like that. But there was some chatter coming out that saying, the Panthers locker room was like, yeah, okay, keep doubting us, keep keep saying those things. It's great. We appreciate it. It's making us want to go out there the next week and just pummel who's next. And the 49ers are doing that right now. the last 2 weeks, Richard Sherman's comments to the press. He's like, hey, if you said we were a 4-win team during, the preseason, consider us a 4-win team. If you said that we're not that good, keep saying that we're not that good. Don't go back and forth or whatever. And I think what he's doing, I mean, obviously the media is going to say whatever they want, but I think what he's doing is kind of using that chippiness to push, the rest of the team, kind of get a chip on their shoulders. And that's a wise move. I mean, you feel about how the Panthers steamrolled through the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, and, you're kind of blinking going, well, really, look at their offense, look at what they did. Like, who cares what they played? They're 15-1, At that point, it doesn't matter anymore. And so I think if a team can use that to their advantage, hey, look, everybody keeps doubting or questioning or saying that we're pretend or fake. Use that to your advantage. Use that as a motivating factor.
I think here what we can take away from this, and actually I'm certain of this, is that first, teams can only play the teams that are on their schedule, right? You can only win the games that are on your schedule. You can't beat other teams. And the second part of this is the only reason that people think you're a bad unbeaten team at all, or even a bad team that's winning, is just because those individuals didn't see it happening before the season started. So the idea was that this was predetermined, that the Rams were going to be at the top of the division, Seattle would be next, and then the 49ers would be at the bottom. That was predetermined, or not at the bottom, but Arizona being at the bottom. And since that isn't matching, that is the only reason people are concerned about whether or not the team is a good 4-win team or a bad 4-win team or whatever it is. I think, though, what you talked about is you're winning in a different way than what was expected with a Kyle Shanahan team, the defense, the run game. And to speak to that, can you turn the tables a little to Jimmy Garoppolo? What are your thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo? Is he kind of coming into it a little bit more? Is he getting better from week to week? Or is that Jimmy Garoppolo we saw in week 1 and week 2, or against the Steelers, was terrible too? Who is Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, he's getting better. I'll give him that. And this is one thing that I think a lot of us kind of have to remind ourselves here and there. He's started what now?
Like 15 games, probably.
15 games, yeah. 15 games. I mean, that's not a lot. So you're going to have those growing pains, having missed almost all of last year with the ACL injury. And something else too that caught my attention. I was listening to Steve Young a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how when a quarterback comes back from an ACL injury, you're going to favor that leg. You're not going to put the same weight. And he was kind of going over all the descriptions of planting. And if you don't plant quite the same way because you're favoring it, you'll miss high, or you'll not be able to lead your target quite as normally as you could. And those are the problems that you're seeing a little bit, where the throws are a little off target. His footwork has been great. And, anybody who's a student of the West Coast offense will know footwork is what drives a quarterback in the West Coast system. So I think what's happening is that Garoppolo is kind of going through those first full year blues, if you would, where he's been good, not great. He's had some up and down games. The Niners have figured out how to win either because of him or in spite of him. I mean, there's been some games that have been terrible, that 5 turnover game. But at the same time, if you start thinking about what he could be like when he finally is hitting his stride, that's when the offense starts to get really scary. And the ground game's there. Any West Coast offense is going to like play action. But Kyle Shanahan's offense and Jimmy Garoppolo don't necessarily need play action like Jared Goff does. I've been saying that for a few years now. But it's sort of okay. I guess this in a nutshell, okay quarterbacking with a lot of room to get better, a lot of signs it can get better, and just hopefully not making enough mistakes where it's going to wind up costing the team. And that week 3 game against Pittsburgh was probably as close as it's come this season.
Peter, talk to me a little bit about your secondary. So as I'm sure you know, we have essentially a quarterback who's learning on the job, and Kyle Allen. He didn't play a lot in college, and he's having to come in and quarterback the Panthers while Cam Newton is rehabbing a foot injury. From what I've seen, it seems as though the 49ers really do have a really good secondary. They seem fast. They play the football. My question to you is your secondary, is that just a product of your pass rush being so vigorous and getting home, or do you actually have one of the better defensive backfields? And just overall, how do you feel about the corners and the safeties on the 49ers right now?
Well, it's kind of a yes and yes question. So it is the beneficiary of a good pass rush. I subscribe to the notion that a secondary is only as good as its pass rush allows it to be. And gosh, last year the 49ers were towards the bottom in sack production. So what do they do this offseason? They go trade for Dee Ford. He's been outstanding. They draft Nick Bosa, who's been outstanding. Literally took over the Monday Night Football game against Cleveland. And pair them with DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead, 2 former first-round picks. So the pass rush has definitely helped. But at the same time, you're getting some really good play out of guys that you would expect who would be good. Richard Sherman, obviously. Kawan Williams, the nickel corner, has been phenomenal this year. He's always been good, but he's been phenomenal this year. Jimmy Ward, another former first-round pick, has been playing free safety. Problem with him is he's banged up all the time. He's always hurt. He's landed on injured reserve in all but, I think, one of his seasons so far, all but one of his seasons at the pro level. But he's been playing exceptionally well at the top of the defense. Jaquiski Tart, Samford guy, strong safety's been playing well. Here's the interesting story, though. So Akello Witherspoon is the number 2 corner. He covers the right side of the offense. He's out with a foot injury, and he may or may not be on the field when the Panthers come to town. Maybe he might be back on October 27th, but in his place is this undrafted free agent named Emmanuel Mosley. And if you guys don't have anything to do and you've got like NFL Game Pass or something, go back and watch some of the Emmanuel Mosley tape. He's been the fill-in corner for Witherspoon, and I mean, you'll see him on that Monday Night Football game, breaking up a pass intended for Jarvis Landry, using the sideline to box out Odell Beckham Jr. He had something similar against Brandon Cooks on Sunday. So it's like, you're seeing these players in the secondary rise up. And as a result, the 49ers, I just looked at the stats today, the number 1 pass defense in the NFL right now. So it's kind of a combination of both, certainly influenced by that defensive front getting home.
And one more quick question for you. Have you been, really in all his time there, have you been happy with the signing of Richard Sherman? Has he been the cornerback that he was for the Seahawks? And has he been more than just a veteran presence for your backfield?
Yeah, he has been. And you saw this last year. Last year, he was still dealing with some of the recovery of the Achilles injury. And he said there was like, he had staples in his ankle, and he said it was like playing with staples in his ankle. This year, he's been on point. And what's been good about it, Richard Sherman's not the fastest corner out there. Pretty physical, there's no doubting that. But he's also one of the most cerebral guys. And you factor in a lot of the other defensive backs. Most of them are young, first, second, maybe third-year players. Jimmy Ward's a little older, but they're young guys. And so you have that veteran presence, plus a guy who's won a Super Bowl, and then plus a guy who's kind of got a little chip on his shoulder anyway. You hate him when he's on the other team, but when he's on your team, it's like, hey, great. But he's been every part. I was looking at the stats today. I was writing a piece about I was ranking the top 10 Niners defenders that'll go out tomorrow on NinerNoise.com. But yeah, anyway, and I was looking up Sherman's numbers, and I think opposing quarterbacks targeting him have either it's like a passer rating of I think like 50 something and a completion percentage that's super low. So he's doing his job on his end of the field, which just takes away that area of coverage, but puts more pressure on the other guys. The difference being this year, the other guys elsewhere on that side of the field are responding.
I tell you one thing is Richard Sherman leads the league in the most handsiest of cornerbacks I've ever seen in my life. He pass interferes on every damn play, I feel like, and he almost I don't know how he gets away with it. So go ahead, Greg. You got a question? We'll get Pete out of here in just a second.
Yeah, just one real quick question, man. I want to talk to you about the three-headed monster you guys have. One thing I've noticed with teams that continually win well is it doesn't matter how well you pass the ball, because I've seen teams pass for 500 yards and lose games consistently. But generally, a team that can win on the ground, as dominant as you guys have, tend to win a lot of games. Now, do you think that three-headed monster you have is going to continue? Do you think it is a trend, or do you think like by the end of the year, do you think
it's got to get better? Coleman is just getting in the groove.
Yeah, I know, but what I mean is like, basically what I'm saying is, do you think that this dominance on the running game, it has to do with the teams you played, or do you think you are legit running
back
team?
to it? We're back to that question.
Huh?
Go ahead, Pete.
No, it's a legit rushing offense, and that goes to Kyle Shanahan, and it goes to the Shanahan system, and it goes to Mike Shanahan. Kyle and Mike have a long history of finding hidden gem running backs in the draft, or these unknown guys. Matt Breida is an undrafted free agent, and have him on. Well, maybe not because he's splitting carries like crazy, but like last year, have him on your fantasy team. The guy is ranked as the last year, I know he was, and this year I think so far he is the fastest player in the NFL, next gen stats. And so Kyle Shanahan's offense is a rushing offense. The offensive linemen that he's picked up, Weston Richburg, Mike Person, Mike McGlinchey, Niners first round pick a year ago, those are all primarily run blocking guys. And so you're going to get the type of runners who are going to do that outside zone system. Now, the Niners rushed for just shy of 100 yards. Rams' run defense is pretty good, so that was kind of expected. But it's still, whatever the 49ers are averaging on the ground per game right now is still pretty high, and that's going to be their bread and butter. So I expect that to continue. It's nice to have the three-headed monster, because if a guy goes down, Tevin Coleman went down in week 1, you have two others you can rely upon. But I fully expect that's going to be, the primary forte of San Francisco's offense going over the rest of the season. And I'll expect them to be at least top 10, if not in the top 5 of rushing yards, average yards per carry, that sort of thing.
Okay. Fantastic stuff, Pete. We're going to go ahead and get you out of here. I know you got a story coming out on NinerNoise.com. Where can they find you on Twitter as well?
That's just my name, at Peter Panacy, just like that sounds, Panacy, putting some wise ass remarks and everything like that. So check me out on game days. I'm usually over at Levi Stadium, hanging out in the press box, giving you some stupid analysis of something. So I'll be there.
Pete, you're always welcome on the show. Thanks for carving out some time for us tonight.
Absolutely, guys. Looking forward to doing it again.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right, guys. Thanks, That's Peter Panacy, NinerNoise.com. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the show. And also remember that, look, the Panthers dominated last week in London with a win and a cover. Panthers look to go on a 5-game winning streak as they will use their bye week to gear up to face the undefeated San Francisco 49ers in a battle of the two of the NFL's hottest teams on October 27th. And there's no better way to enhance your watching experience than with MyBookie. 6 weeks of the regular season in the books and so much left to be decided. Still plenty of time to get on the action. Division odds, season awards, in-game wagering available too. That just scratches the surface. We've teamed up with MyBookie to give you a great offer. Sign up at MyBookie.ag and use the promo code OVERTIME. That's the promo code OVERTIME. They'll match your first deposit. MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid. Guys, All right, so we've heard a little bit about the Niners. What I think we should do is, Cody, should we pivot to the calls or should we pivot to the pretender?
Let's do the calls.
All right, so we're going to go ahead. Look, first, this show is made because, look, people on the show are just fans of the Carolina Panthers. People who dominate this show, right, are the people in the chat room, the people that call into the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. You guys always bring the best conversation, and we love having you as part of the show. Let's see what you got to say this week.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
P3, Panther Nation, it's for J-Dub.
J-Dub.
Man, I think we really built the brand today. We did what we had to do. I've been telling people for a long time this defense is for real, and we look more like a team every week. I just really hope the bye week doesn't take it out of us. I'm not going to be a negative Nancy, but I hope the bye week doesn't ruin our momentum. And the inevitable question of Cam versus Kyle. It's not a question to me. It's just you go with the hot hand. If Kyle loses a game and he really loses it himself, we have to pull him. But until he does that, why pull him out? And that's all I got to say. Love you guys. Keep pounding.
All right, so J-Dub brings the thanks. First of all, J-Dub, thanks for the call. I like a lot of this. For one, is when we're talking about this team coalescing, that defense, the team is getting better each week. We talked about this in the post-game show, Cody. Right now, it doesn't feel like a team that's flashing in the pan. And continuing to talk about your theory of a game that you don't know who teams are until midway through the season, the Carolina Panthers have told me that they're a team that is getting better from week to week, whether that's offensively, whether that's these receivers getting more experience, whether that's Kyle Allen getting more experience, and this defense coming together. How do you see this team right now, and are any concerns coming off the bye? Ron Rivera, historically not good after the bye.
And I feel like whenever we say that, we always win off the bye. Like I
hear
that.
Yes, we've been saying it.
And then we end up winning. Listen, man, I'm ecstatic with this football team right now, man. I think we're firing on all cylinders. And we're, even Peter Panacy was kind of talking about it with his 49ers. We have the two things that travel well. We have a vicious defense. And by the way, shout out to the number of people contributing to our pass rush. Vernon Butler has come alive. Efe Obada is doing things. Christian Miller, Brian Burns goes without saying. And then Bruce Irvin and Mario Addison. Like, everyone's playing a role. I just named a bunch of people that are contributing to this football team. We have a vicious pass rush, and we can put multiple guys on the field that can affect the quarterback. And we have the best middle linebacker in the NFL, and Shaq Thompson playing out of his mind. We have a caller from Utah that says we have the best defense in the NFL, and I'm with him, man. I don't care what the numbers say. I feel like that's going to play out. And then on the other side of the football, you have an MVP candidate and the best running back in football right now, and Christian McCaffrey, and we can do so many things with him that – we have the debate of Kyle Allen or Cam Newton. But really, even though we all know it should be Cam Newton, the offense runs through Christian McCaffrey right now. So as long as they're able to move the ball and run the ball and throw when they need to, I honestly feel we have one of the most well-rounded football teams in the NFL right now. And, there are some other good teams that I can't say that for. The Bears just have a great defense, and they're kind of whatever on offense. There's a few teams that are kind of like that. So I'm incredibly happy and hopeful about the Carolina Panthers right now.
The Packers are like that.
Oh, gosh, Greg. We're going to fight about it. Greg, I'm going to ask you this. Is one of the things I don't like about the call when it comes to J-Dub is the idea that the pressure that you put on Kyle Allen to the first game, like, oh, we're going to stick with you as long as you're not throwing an interception or you're not losing a game or anything like that. Like at the first loss, that all of a sudden everybody is going to jump and abandon Kyle Allen ship. What I think is that I think that conversation also sheds light on the opposite side of the coin, where when Cam, if Cam does come back in, the first interception he throws or the first read that he doesn't make or the ball that is off 6 inches, are we going to go, oh, well, Cam Newton can't play football, bench him, bring in Kyle? I don't like the idea of one play or one game determining either of these guys' status with the Carolina Panthers. Now, if Cam Newton comes in and shits the bed, then we could say, all right, well, maybe he's not ready. Maybe Kyle Allen is the hot hand. I just don't like the one play, one game mantra, dude.
No, I totally agree with you, man. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in. It's a what can you do for me now type world. And it's going to be like that. If Cam Newton comes back and they give him the opportunity to start again, the first time he has an off throw, the first time he has an interception or a bad fumble, something like that, he's going to get chastised for it. As far as Kyle Allen goes, I'd like to see him prevail. Pressure does two things. It bursts pipes or makes diamonds. So we're going to see what Kyle Allen's all about when he gets under some real pressure of either losing the job or playing a really good team. I just, like I said, I just feel like no matter what happens, Cam Newton is going to be and always has been under that microscope of the second you screw up, you're done. I pointed out to Cody the other day, there was a pass in the last game where Kyle Allen threw it. I think it was the second quarter where Kyle Allen threw it to Greg Olsen, and it was a 15-yard gain. And the commentators ran with the game and they played on whatever. The commentators said, "Oh, what a great pass! What a great catch!" But if you go back and look at it, it's a horrible pass and a really good catch. It was low and away. Olsen had to dive for it. Now, because the commentators are talking about Kyle Allen, they say, "Oh, great pass," because he made the completion. Cam Newton makes the exact same throw in the exact same spot, and the commentators say, "Oh, well, if he'd have put that in the right spot, that would have been a touchdown." And that's what sucks about it. Is there's so much bias. Huh?
Ross Gould in the chat room says if Cam gets a full week of practice, start him. CK, what I feel like I'm being very fair on this, CK, is that I am a Cam supporter. I'm a Kyle Allen supporter, and Kyle Allen has not played fantastic at times, but I'm also saying he's been sensational. He's been sensational in my eyes because he has been a positive contribution to this team going forward or at this moment. I am not ready to bench him yesterday or 2 days ago when he threw that one pass off. I don't think we should be like that with Cam or him. CK, how do you handle this if you're the Carolina Panthers? And then we'll move on to the next call.
It's a lose-lose. I mean, really, if you think about it, let's just say Cam's healthy after the bye week. He could possibly play against the 49ers. Well, if you play Kyle Allen and Kyle Allen just sucks, wets the bed, well, the problem you run into is now you're going to say, all right, let's start Cam. Well, what's going through Cam's mind? I was second choice at that point in time, right? Mm-hmm. I was ready. You guys still decided to go with him. There's a mental game to this as well. So he doesn't feel appreciated, but then he has a bad game. It's now, we're kind of in the same situation with Tampa Bay when Fitz magic was happening with, Jameis Winston. I'm not going to sit there and say we're in the same boat, but it's almost similar to where people were calling for, Fitz magic. Oh, let's go ahead and go with the hot hand and see how that went. I think it's unfair to Cam to not give him an opportunity to actually come back fully healthy and show what he's capable of, because right now we haven't seen that in a very long time, in almost an entire year, and we're basing our assumptions off of injury-plagued games that he's experienced.
I just want to win. And I think this is an unnecessary conversation almost.
I agree.
Right? Is Cam ain't ready right now, so who cares? And if he is, and I don't want him to have any doubt or anything. I want him to be 200% before he comes back, right?
But by the way, one more thing, CK, you made the perfect analogy on Twitter. in my opinion. And if you can remember it, I'd like you to say it so you can get the credit for it. Go ahead and say it.
So Kyle Allen, there's a couple of points that I made with this. Kyle Allen is basically Case Keenum from 2017 with the Vikings.
100%.
They didn't win because of Case Keenum. They won. They didn't lose because of him either. And one of the lines that I said was, he's not making extraordinary passes. He's making passes that are expected of him. Those are things that any quarterback should be able to throw. He's not throwing dimes that are just incredible. I mean, there are a few certainly, but even if you look at the deep balls, there's nothing that's leading the receiver and allowing them to actually go and score a touchdown. It's a lot of times it's thrown short. And so there's not you're not dealing with an elite quarterback. And so the problem you run into when you try to compare the two is it's just not a fair comparison. You're looking at a skewed result from Cam during injury-plagued, games, and now all of a sudden we're here. The one thing I'll make a point of, and if you go and look at Pro Football Focus, if you look at Next Gen stats, Kyle Allen's throws are not where they should be. Like, if they look at them, the catchable balls are there certainly, but where the ball should be placed, he's actually one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. It's just he's getting the ball in a catchable area, which is good news, but it's not the actual best. It's not, the stats are misleading at this point. So anyway,
he throws an easier to catch ball. I will say that he throws an easier to catch ball than Cam Newton does. Sometimes you don't need that 100-mile-an-hour zip, and that can affect our receivers. But I think that is the difference. I don't think he throws the ball better necessarily. He throws it different, and because it's different, it's easier to catch ball.
I mean, and we're also thinking of Cam Newton in the moments when he's thrown the missiles. He's also thrown, good. It's unnecessary. Yeah, it's unnecessary. Remember this is that. Thank you, Kyle Allen. Sensational. But here is the thing: is that the Panthers had 5 interceptions, a fumble, turnover. Right? I mean, like, we've been sacking he's been getting a little help. Right, and it's not like our offense has. Yeah, that's what hit me up. That's what I was saying. Hit me up with those numbers you said, because the idea is, and it's not a knock on Kyle, but we have to remember that sticking Cam right there in this type of momentum with the defense playing like this could mean better things. Would mean better things. Go ahead, Stat Daddy, hit him.
Yeah, I'm gonna step down the stat cave real quick. So games 1 through 2, our defense allowed 25 points a game. The defense scored 0 touchdowns. They had 1 interception, 0 forced fumbles, and 4 sacks. Games 3 through 6, we allowed 20 points per game, which is 5 points less, so almost a full touchdown less. They have 1 touchdown on defense. They have 8 interceptions compared to 1, 5 forced fumbles compared to 0, and 24 sacks compared to 4. Excuse me, 23 sacks compared to 4, okay? So when you break those numbers down, with the 8 interceptions and the 5 forced fumbles, you're looking at 12 more possessions among 4 games. So that's 3 more possessions a game that Kyle Allen's had than Cam Newton's had. And that's just counting turnovers. That's not counting sacks on second and third down that cause more possessions. So you're probably looking at close to 5 extra possessions for Kyle Allen in a game than Cam Newton had. So when you really look at it like that, it's not even a fair comparison, man. If you give me 5 more chances to do something than I gave you, it's not going to be fair. And I'm still putting up the same amount of points with 5 less chances to do it. It's
a great story. It's a great story. Our defense has been fantastic. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. The number's 252-228-5098. Next call.
This is Joe from Oregon. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Joe?
Just got the update on my phone. Cam Newton is healthy. Pretty obviously, he has to practice for a full week. But obviously, this bye is going to help. If he can practice that full week and he looks good, if he can actually run, I say we start him. I'm kind of fearful of putting Kyle Allen versus the Niners. I know our line is upgraded, but we got to have our best weapons. If they're undefeated, we cannot put Kyle Allen. And I know Kyle Allen has not lost. He's done good. He's a backup, and he's done a great job. But it's time for Cam Newton if he's healthy. So lead this team to a Super Bowl, which I think he can with the defense. So if Cam can practice fully healthy and run and plant on his throwing foot, he's got to play. There's no excuse. I don't care about the Kyle Allen's 4-5 record. fuck it. We need Cam. That's it. I'll check this podcast out tomorrow. Keep on it.
All right, Joe, thanks for the call. Now, somebody hit me up on Twitter, too. It might have even been Joe with a screenshot of their Apple News. It's kind of hard to gauge where we're getting, is this Jason La Canfora news? Is this Adam? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Is that, how do we know? Has anybody heard anything about Cam Newton's health to this point?
So as far as the health is concerned, I think we've pretty much stated all the information that there is. So
has anybody heard that he's healthy right now?
Apparently Cam Newton is healthy, and from what I'm hearing, they intend to start practicing him after the bye week. So as we start to prepare for San Francisco. Now, I don't exactly know what the timetable is on Cam Newton. So just because he starts to practice, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to run with him. But I'm glad that Joe brought that up, because this is a question that I have for all of you. And I think that all of us could so easily see this scenario, right? Kyle Allen's 4-0, and, he's played great. But then here comes Cam Newton after the bye. And now he has to come back against that 49ers pass rush. Like, man, I could just easily see a scenario where Cam Newton
gets hurt again.
Yeah, either gets hurt again, or they start to beat up on him, and then the narrative becomes, "Oh, you have to put Kyle in. You have to put Kyle in." Listen, this is kind of where I'm at. I believe Cam Newton provides us the best chance to win a football game, even though Kyle Allen has done well. What I will say is I do worry about Kyle Allen because he's not as mobile. And if you saw what the 49ers did to Baker Mayfield, dude, they gave Baker hell. They gave him all he could handle. Now, when you have a more mobile quarterback like Cam Newton, it does have to keep them more honest. So, I don't know. What do you guys, if Cam Newton is healthy, do you want him to start against San Fran or at home against the Titans?
I want him to start right away if he's healthy. But I also think that really just tells us what is really healthy, right? And what I mean by that is that if you're worried about him because he's playing a tough pass rush, then he's not really healthy. He's delicate. He's too fragile. Then that means you're not healthy. You're almost healthy, or you could be healthy, but you're so worried. And the other thing is, do you think that when they bring him back, that he's just going to be on wide open when it comes to mobility? I think that they're going to try to shelter and protect him. So for me is that I want to just say this is that, you start him whenever he believes in his mind and the coaching staff believes in his mind that he's going to go out there and he's not going to play scared.
Well, I got a question for you, all three of y'all. Would you rather have Cam Newton come back and play a sheltered version of himself where they are keeping him in the pocket, they are restricting his runs, and they are really stopping him from what he's doing, and he lasts 6-7 more years of being a mid-level tier quarterback? Or would you rather have Cam Newton come back and let them run the way he plays football, what made him him, and we only get 3 more years out of him that are 3 elite years? Which would you rather have? 6 mediocre years or 3 elite years out of Cam Newton?
And listen, I don't mind being in the minority on this. And I even know there are some people in our chat room that have been kind of echoing this notion too. I don't believe that Cam Newton cannot be a pocket passing quarterback. I don't believe that Cam Newton has to have the threat of running the football, or else he's some subpar passer. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, Greg,
I'm with you.
But but especially knowing, like, a lot of people tried to poo-poo this new throwing motion and it's not that different. Listen, Cam Newton put real effort into changing the way he plays football. He knows that is a legitimate criticism, that when you run the football all the time, your body just isn't going to hold up like that. What I'm saying is Cam Newton, when he comes back healthy, deserves the right, like Drew Brees did with New Orleans, to show that he can transition to the second phase of his career. He's only 30 years old. We're not talking about a 37-year-old quarterback. I'm saying let Cam evolve. Evolution is the nature of the universe, man. And Cam Newton has deserved the right to show that he can come in and transition to the next phase of his career. And I think that if he does that, then we're going to continuously be one of the best teams in football every single year.
I want to echo a sentiment here. First let me go to the question that Tony asked, which is, do we want him to start against San Francisco or the Titans? Well, the problem is if they don't start him against San Francisco and he comes in and he beats the Titans, what are the people going to say?
Right. It's a shitty Titans team.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if he comes in and he faces the 49ers and he loses, well, guess what? It's a lose situation there too. We should have started Kyle Allen. The hypotheticals are so tough because you don't know what to expect. I think if he's healthy, he plays. Now, to another point, Ross Gould had said if Cam can't use his athleticism, he's a mediocre quarterback. If you look at his stats as a passer over the first 8 seasons, he's beaten out almost in every category. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, all of the greats, because those are their worst seasons. So if you want to judge him as a passer off of his first 8 seasons, you've got to look at the big picture and realize if he's going to become a pocket passer, the best of his days as a quarterback are going to be in the future. So to assume that if he's not athletic in the pocket and he can't run, that he's going to be a mediocre quarterback is not actually looking at the big picture the way that you should.
Let's just say what we really want, what we're all scared the most of. And that is it's not if Cam can be great. It's not if he has to change his game. It really is he going to get injured? Is he going to stay injured?
Yeah.
That's the real fear, is that it has nothing. I don't care about San Francisco's pass rush. I don't give one crap about it. I think, well, actually I do a little bit. But what I think is like our offense we don't need Cam to be a Cam that he was in 2013.
Right.
He's a different, he can be sensational like Cody's saying in a different way. And if anybody is going to say that he could be, what I think is that what we really want and what we really believe should happen is that Cam Newton goes on and has 8 years sensationally, and they're part athleticism and him just being a dominant ass quarterback. We want to see that, but we're really fearful, or at least I think that we all are. The real fear is just not if Cam Newton can play football. It's just, will he play football?
Yeah, I mean, health is such an important thing. And I think at some point, maybe next Tuesday, we're going to have this discussion of how many snaps we're playing McCaffrey again also. Because we do have to think about his long-term health.
If this is Liz Frank, guys, like they have said, I'm worried about it. I'm worried that it's going to be like, it doesn't matter who he plays, that's a thing that a lot of people have talked about just surgically needs to be repaired. So
I don't know. It's so hard to say. I mean, because if you're Vermillion or whatever, the Panthers doctor,
I can't trust these guys.
Well, okay, so I mean, if you get a Liz Frank surgery, I don't even know what that's called. I mean, I don't know what they even do to repair it. But if they did that, does that automatically mean you're out for the season? Like, I don't know. If it was that serious of an if it was that serious of an issue, then it should have been something that they probably should have done already. But I understand the fear you're talking about. I mean, we don't want to see Cam Newton that played against Tampa Bay week 2 at home. I mean, that was just the worst Cam Newton I have ever seen play football, and no one's gonna win with that. So
we were one bad call away from winning that game.
Right, but we're not going to be able to do that against everyone, though.
I would just say that we have not handled Cam Newton's injuries well from a medical standpoint in the past when it comes to timing. So I don't know what it is. We've heard that it's a midfoot sprain. We've heard Liz Frank. Cam Newton said, Liz, that it was his Liz Frank, that little thing right there. We don't know. And yes, there are multiple levels of it. But the real fear, that's what I'm trying to tell everybody, is chill out, folks, on whether or not Cam Newton is better than Cal out. Well, that's all stupid. We all know Cam Newton is phenomenal. The key is we just need to see Cam Newton where he can play some games and not be hurt. That's it. All right, here, you guys are going to love this. I was catching up with the head bookie from MyBookie.ag, Raphael Esparza, earlier, and I turned off the voicemail, right, because so he could call me, so it didn't go automatically to voicemail. And guess who called? Moneybags Lawson. Here it goes. Hey, Moneybags, you're on the line right now with me, live. Well, kind of live. What's up, brother?
Yeah, I just want to say I called a couple weeks ago, and I said we was going to win in spite of Kyle Allen, right? So, yeah, we did. I said that's what you wanted, and that's what you got, right?
That is what we got. I mean, the offense is not great at the moment. It's not bad, though.
Yeah, I mean, he ain't lost us no games, but he ain't won us none either. But, I mean, he ain't been in no situations to have to win us one either, right?
No, and that's what you need to do when you have a backup in, right?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, everybody, I don't know what they thinking, talking about he's the guy and we don't need Cam back. Everybody tripping, everybody at my job giving me shit. It's kind of hard up here, man. The F-150 gang is strong out here.
God, they are. Now, tell me this. Do you think there's any real concern about Cam coming back? When do you think you'll see Cam back?
Shit, I want to see him. I think he can come back this next game, but I want to see him the game after that. Really, really.
There's your answer, Cody.
You
saw that game this past week. It was exciting. What sticks out in your mind real quick before you got to go back to work?
Shit, the defense. That's it, the defense.
Yeah.
And Ron Rivera.
You got to give your hats off to Ron Rivera.
Yeah. But the main reason I called, though, is because I want to do some cat-on-cat icing up. Cat-on-cat crime.
Hit him. Hit me up.
I got to ice up your boy Brandon Herbert.
All right.
I got to, bro. It's like we got to start banning people out here. Every time he call, he crying about everything. Every week is somebody different. When James Bradbury do something good, we don't hear from him. As soon as he fuck up, he call crying and shit. Man, we got to get this dude some Zoloft, a blunt, some pussy or something, man. We got to do something.
What do you got to tell him?
Ice the fuck up. Man, the fuck up. And next time you call, put some bass in your fucking voice.
Oh, Lord. All right.
Thanks a lot. Say it with your chest.
All
right. Say it with your chest.
I didn't know where he was going when he said I got to do some cat-on-cat crime, because Tony's been victim of some of that in chat rooms at times. And I was like, all right, let me have it. He came after Brother Herbert.
Hey, I will say with the call he made on Sunday about after the game with James Bradbury, and I went by with the stats. Look, y'all, 10 tackles and 2 interceptions. And I know he said the 10 tackles because he was letting the guys catch the ball. I don't give a damn he's letting the guys catch the ball if he's stopping them, first of all. Second of all, I guarantee you he didn't have 10 targets his way in the game. So all 10 of those tackles weren't balls thrown his way. But 10 tackles and 2 interceptions, that's Deion Sanders type numbers right there.
Defend yourself, Brandon.
So if you want to say that he had a bad game, that's crazy, man. That's Deion Sanders type numbers. 10 tackles, 2 interceptions.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say, guys, because this is one of the things I was listening to the podcast, and somebody was talking about James Bradbury not really playing well. A lot of those passes that were caught were in the middle of zone coverage. Mike Evans was finding a way in between. He was finding the soft spot. It wasn't a direct press coverage. It wasn't Bradbury. A lot of times it was Javion Elliott or Cockrell underneath or something that should have had the wherewithal to be there where the ball was. And it wasn't, it just happened to be Bradbury was there to cover him from the top. Those aren't, I still don't blame Bradbury. If you look at it from the perspective that I look at it, aside from that one where Mike Evans had him beat, Bradbury played an exceptional game. He made the plays when he needed to make them. Early on set the tone. When we play zone, you can't put everything on him. It's a group effort on that coverage. And so, and talk about our number one pass rank, number one ranked pass defense that's no longer number one. That's because we were playing with a 3-score lead a lot of times. They have to pass. There is no other options. That makes it so much harder.
But they've been eating up, man. Godwin has eaten our. We've gotten our. We haven't been great in the against the pass the last 2 games. We haven't been great. Now, I do think there's circumstantial things. I think that's important to think where you are at the game. Of course, yards are people can chew you up like that. But here's the thing: is that we've done for 2 weeks what we need to do. That's it. Well, we got to keep doing that. Go into San Francisco. This probably, while we have been looking, we were searching for our litmus test. We thought, think back to the trajectory of this discussion, guys. What we got is Arizona. We're no wins. You go on the road. Well, can we just get a road win? Can we get a road win with a backup quarterback? You get that win, then you go to Houston, and you start to say, man, Houston could really tell us. I mean, we win that game. It seemingly tells us a lot about the team, but we're uncertain about it a little bit because they didn't have a fantastic game offensively. Then our team goes and plays the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're able to prevail in that with a team that is not bad at this point with a decent defense. So that at that point, your offense beat a good defense. But previously, or your defense. So now we won in London. You can only win the games that are on your schedule again. The 49ers, that's a real damn litmus test at this point, Cody.
Yeah, it is a real litmus test. I'm okay, so first off, Brother Herbert was not here to defend himself. I just want to say that before we go in.
I love you. I love you, by the way. I love controversial takes.
Keep calling.
Man, we accept it all, man. If you're a Panther fan, if you're not a Cam Newton fan, I don't know what your problem is, but hey, man, look, whatever you believe, you're able to come here. You're able to come here and talk about it and talk Panther football because that's what this show is all about.
Agreed.
What I will say, though, is, man, how can you not be impressed with every single one of the members of our defensive backfield right now, man? Dude, listen, if you follow the Panthers on Instagram, they put out, it looks like an opening to an HBO show, the Steve's Avenue video. and whoever runs our social media account, they are A100, man. They're
getting iced up at the end of this show.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Take that.
But listen, right now, I would say that out of everyone on our defense this season, James Bradbury might be the guy that I'm most impressed with. Take that jump. I kind of expected Shaq Thompson to do what he did, but James Bradbury. I was almost, not quite that far, but I was almost on Brandon Herbert's team. But man, James Bradbury has been incredible.
Yeah, he's changed
what he's doing.
He's changed the narrative for sure. And also, piggybacking on that, Shaq, bad news. I think his mother passed away, and he found out on game day on the way back from London. So we also, and in our minds, Nova Black, we know that he also is dealing with this. Continued sympathies from the C3 Panthers podcast. You're right, Cody. You can bring the takes. Is that you put it out there, you're going to deal with the feedback as well, and that's what I have to deal with. I got to deal with y'all jokers and y'all's feedback. Let's see what these suckers got to say next.
I know last time y'all cut me off. I just want to let Greg know that Jay Bateman's not 22. He's been coaching for 22 years. So I just wanted to clarify that. But also, anyways, forget about the Tar Heels. Kyle Allen did a pretty good job in this last game. Our defense did step up. And I want to know something. Do y'all think Vernon Butler is a late bloomer? And if so,
good question.
Since he's been playing so good these last few games, do you think we should sign him to a really cheap 2-year deal? All right, guys. Keep pounding. Take it easy.
Thanks for the call. Great question in a way, is Vernon Butler has been making his name known.
Yeah, and Ron Rivera even talked about it in his press conference. Him moving to that 5 tech, which is a defensive end in a 3-4, has really kind of helped him a lot. And I agree. Listen, so this is what I'll say right now. It's too early to say whether or not we give Vernon Butler another go. We need to see him do that continuously. Do it more than one game. Because right now we have a few good performances and one good game against Tampa Bay. But right now I haven't seen anything that says, okay, well, we need him to be on our team next year. Maybe a Darrell Williams type of deal where you sign him to some money and then let him come back. I do.
Well,
think
he won't command money abroad, at least. Unless so at the very the worst it's going to be is kicking the tires on him for that's good for everybody if that happens in that point. That means he's playing better. They feel okay with him, and there's no harm, no foul.
The Giants may need to take a player we don't get rid of or we get rid of. So
yeah, I may need to go and look at tape because. Beyond those two plays, and let's be
and one play in the Texans game, or the Cardinals. I think it was the Texans.
If we're focusing on the Tampa Bay game, the two plays that we're talking about are the two strip sacks back to back. The first one, give credit to Vernon Butler, absolutely, with a little help from Jameis certainly, but mainly that was Vernon Butler making an incredible play. The second one was just Jameis Winston being Jameis Winston, making dumb, boneheaded decisions when he should have thrown that ball away at least 15 seconds earlier. Our pass rush was getting him off the spot, but it wasn't Vernon Butler that was doing it. It was everybody else. So it was a really team effort on that one. I don't want to take anything away from him because he made the play when he could have easily not. But I need to look more in depth and actually see his maybe his next gen stats on his pressure percentage and things like that, because I don't feel like I've seen it as consistently as it looks like.
The good news is that if you sign Butler, he's going to be dirt cheap, right? The bad news is that the good bad news, I don't know how to describe it, is that you're right. Is that like the idea of him being a contributor right now is still on the fringe. It's very on the fringe. We got to see a lot more out of him. And right now, the good news for the Panthers is the first round mystique of you're a first round pick. That's worn off at this point. Right now, he's fighting to be a league minimum guy or more.
I'll say this. I'll say this. I mean, he was looking to have a Kelvin Benjamin type deal where whenever he was done here, he was done playing football. But I do think that he's now done enough that even if it's not with the Panthers, some team is gonna kick the can on Vernon Butler. But I mean, if he's willing to continue to ball out for us, he has the time left to prove it.
Well, the only question I have about the whole, we have a great defensive line, about the whole situation is when you have Bruce Irving and Gerald McCoy, Don Terry Poe, Mario Addison, Brian Burns, we have all these guys. If Butler ends up being the 6th or 7th best guy on our line and he's still producing the way he's producing, do we keep him at that point? Like, is he a good 6th or 7th guy? He may not be a good starter, number 1, number 2 guy on our line, but if he can produce the way he has been in the last few weeks as our, rotational guy coming in there, that's not a bad position.
That's the thing.
There, right?
That's what he is. That's all he can be at this moment.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not a bad one. Like,
right?
He's a good.
Yeah,
back.
I'm hope he's coming up because Poe's showing up, like people in the chat room are saying. You've got Gerald McCoy who played a fantastic game, and then there's them up and comers on Brian Burns and Christian Miller, and Bruce Irvin is playing tough right now. This is actually a great environment for Vernon Butler, where opportunity may be meeting a talented front, and he can capitalize on that. Let's go on to the next call.
Hey, it's the commish. How's everybody?
What's up?
I was watching the Monday night game, and my mind was drifting towards the Super Bowl when we lost and some of the calls. And, it's just funny how certain calls, they always seem to go for, like, Green Bay, Dallas, and New England. Why is it certain teams always get the calls? They always, certain teams always do get the calls year over year. And another thing is that also years ago I was doing some research for an article running for you guys at the time. But the NFL's refereeing, the hiring of officials is the most nepotistic of any pro sport around. And, it's not based on talent, it's based on who you're connected to. So that might be worth looking into as well. So I'm not liking it, but that's peace out and keep pounding.
Ken D, thanks for the call. The commish. Cody, how do you fix the damn referee situation?
So one, Al Riveron, the head of officiating, dude, that asshole needs to have been fired. Listen, is this just me or is this not hard at all? Why isn't there someone in New York or in the booth at the stadium or whatever that's supervising every single play? And whenever there's a flag thrown and there isn't any challenge yet or whatever, they can phone down and say, hey, no, you need to pick up that flag and reverse the call. Like we're talking about, there is not a sports league in the world that makes the money that the NFL does. And by the way, soccer is worldwide, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not like the NFL doesn't have the funds to pay people to get this shit right. I don't understand anymore what they're doing because it's pissing people off to the point where, you don't even, listen, I'm not a Lions fan, but the Lions shouldn't have to have say, oh, well, we should have fought harder and played better when they came up with critical third down stops when it mattered the most. It's bullshit, and the NFL needs to do something about it, but their ineptitude just keeps the same cycle of stupid on a perpetual loop.
Well, it's like I always say, this is a television show, and it is the highest rated television show in TV, period. No matter if you're a football fan or not, football Monday, Thursday, Sunday makes more money and has more viewers than any other television show in the world. And what sells more on television shows than anything else nowadays? Reality TV. So what you feed people and what people think is reality is what they really buy into. I commented on this earlier before we started recording. The officials did a great job protecting their golden boy, because Aaron Rodgers is their golden boy and the Packers are their golden team. I do not like saying that a referee blows a game. The referee on that game last night with the Lions and the Packers blew that game for the Lions.
Yeah.
They should have won that game. The Packers did not win that game by any means whatsoever, and somehow they came away with the W.
And it's going to continue to happen, too.
Because ratings are better that way. When the Packers are better, ratings for the NFL are better. So they're going to make sure these teams. Same with Kansas City. That's why Patrick Mahomes can look at an official and raise his hands and have him throw a flag without even having the official look at the play. He'll throw the flag. It's because ratings are better when certain teams are better. So
look at this. The den mama in the house coming in. She said she wasn't going to be here tonight. Susan, she can't help. She got to check on her children. She got to check on the children. Make sure. Let me tell you this. Let me catch you up. Because Cody has just easily solved the problem. Cody solved the officiating problem, and it's very simple. I don't know why it's been it is so hard. You need a coordinating official, a guy who is the official of the officials at that game, like the head guy, and he should not be on the field. He should be in the booth with all of the replays that we see. And we know there is a delay between a play ending and the 10-second, unless you're running the most hurry-up offense, there's a natural delay there, right? Yeah. So there's an opportunity for him to call an official huddle, right? Where all it has to do is this, is anytime a flag is thrown, if that flag looks like it was completely wrong, they should just say official huddle. We're picking it up. That's it. Yeah. What's so damn hard about that? And then next is the fear. The real fear, guys, though, lies in the fear that everything will be replayed. I think the solution is to not replay more, but necessarily just have the ability to be more flexible as an official group, where when you throw a flag and it's wrong, you're not so boneheaded that you won't be like, well, we can't pick it up, because if we pick up the flag, it will bring in the integrity of every other call we've made. It's not the case.
Well, and there's zero repercussions for these referees. Like the guy that called the same hands to the face penalty on Trey Flowers last night 2 times in a row on 3rd down. Is there going to be any repercussions for that asshole? Hell no. It's going to
there
be,
would need to be
some other game.
There would not need to be, though, any penalty for that guy if you just said, "Hey, pause." Right? As with second look, we thought it was hands up. You can make mistakes as a ref, as a ump. It's so quick. I get it. But why is the idea that they refuse to think that just picking up a flag is a problematic? Go ahead. CK, what do you got to say?
So what's interesting to me is the fact that they're discouraged from looking at the video board at all, right? Like, if they're discussing it, I think they should be able to look up and say, oh yeah, we were way wrong. I know the fear of the timing and taking away from the time on the field and the gameplay, but how often do we see a call that is so blatantly wrong? Within 10 seconds, we can know that. That's not hard for them to see those things.
Right.
So I don't think it takes away any of that, certainly. But I do think that there's the aspect of things where they talk about, I don't think that the referees, the officials, want to admit they were wrong. And I think you're seeing that sentiment across the league with the pass interference. They almost feel like it's a attack on their ability as a referee.
The reason they think it's wrong is because they've gone about it the backwards ass way with this challenge thing. Instead of saying we have to challenge plays on the field, what we should just have is that somebody's just watching the game. And the NFL can say, hey, we're all watching the game. That was not a flag. Boop, red light. Huddle up, take it back. No time off the clock. You know what I'm saying? Why is there this idea that even teams have to challenge bad calls? The NFL should just be looking at it and going, you know what? We got it wrong. Move the ball back.
Well, the problem is, Tony, and I think originally it was because replays took too long. I remember when they brought replays back, it was like,
right.
Oh, replays are...
Because they had to go in that stupid booth. Yeah, they had to call on a phone. Yeah. We don't have none of that. It's all on the headset.
Now it's all on the headset. Now, literally, it doesn't matter what challenge it is. It takes 2 or 3 minutes, okay? So let me ask you guys, because I asked my friend this today. Would you rather have a situation where we keep what we have right now, where the only play call challengeable is in pass interference that is totally judgmental by the referee anyways? Or would you rather give a team 3 challenges a game, okay? And they can challenge any play, anything they want to. If you see the replay and you see that guy's hand was inside the jersey and not in the face mask to save the game, you'd be able to challenge that. Would you guys rather have the 3 challenges of anything you want, or keep it the way we are right now? Because the way the officials are going right now and the way the replays are going right now, it's very quick to find out whether it was true or not. You have 25 different camera angles, and you have 6 different officials looking at it. So I'd rather have 3 challenges on any play you want, rather than 2 challenges and the only thing you can challenge is the call on the field or pass interference. It makes no sense to me.
I just think whether you challenge it or whatever system you have, there has to be a scenario where someone can overturn and check the referees. Because, dude, listen, we could do the referees' jobs. Okay, us sitting at home watching TV could do a better job officiating the football game than these referees are. And it's like, it's so annoying, the fact that it's costing teams games on Monday Night Football when there's no other football on and everyone's watching. The NFL is putting out shitty product. And when you're a company and you put out shitty product, people stop buying your product.
Or watch the soccer.
I think the whole challenge concept is flawed. And what I mean by that is, one, why should any team be penalized for wanting the game to be officiated correctly?
Okay.
Right?
So
On top of that, we saw this with the Carolina Panthers earlier this year where Ron Rivera challenged a play. He got the challenge right, but they said that they couldn't rule on us getting the ball.
Which was garbage.
But here, that's fine. But then we lost our timeout. They said we lost our. So here's what I'm saying is why doesn't the NFL just want to get it right? And what I mean by that is exactly what Cody said. We don't have to review every play, but there has to be some flexibility to where we say, look, everybody saw that the ump put the ball on the wrong yard line. Yes. Right? Imagine this. Imagine if the ref put the ball on the wrong yard line, right? And everybody saw it. Except for the ref right there, right? The one guy. Shouldn't the NFL be able to flash the lights on and off real quick and say, hold up, put the ball back 5 yards? Why is there this idea that we have to challenge it as a team? And if you make the NFL that person, then it doesn't challenge their integrity at all. It's just like, hey, guys, real quick, before we move on to the next play, pick that flag up.
Well, you know what it is, Cody or Tony, is they'll only make $6.3 billion that year instead of making $6.35 billion that year.
That
changes everything.
I don't think it would cost $1 to do this. I don't think it would cost any more than the money that they're paying already. There's just a simple way. Put one extra referee up in the fucking booth. All right, next call. Let's go on to the cat calls. Just one guy that's the manager of the refs. Right? We have a team manager, right? You have a team that's managed by a manager. Manage the refs. And he should be up in the booth.
I'll do it.
Hi guys, it's Rich in London. I've calmed down from the game. Had a fantastic time, as you probably
What's up, Rich?
It was brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Okay, down to business. O-line looking good. That's all coming together really nicely now.
Yes.
I've seen that our third string left tackle, Dennis Daly, was rated, got the highest grade from BFF this week for left tackle. It was noticeable in the game Kyle Allen had time to throw. Quite visibly was able to stand in the pocket and deliver, and he did. It was fantastic. That looks like it's gelling. I think Matt Paradis is now starting to come round, get the confidence. I heard there were comments elsewhere about Ross Cockrell now feeling free. He trusts the leg, and I wonder whether the same thing's happening with Paradis now. But anyway, you can't draft too many left tackles. I mean, just do it every year. It's almost, those guys, Little and Daly, great forward thinking by Herney, and just generally, even if Daly becomes a guard and we have Van Roten for depth, that's great. Secondary look good. We still give up too many points. The play calling is still pretty average. Me and the Panthers fans I was with in the third quarter, McCaffrey should have been pulled. He wasn't going anywhere all day. We were up at that stage by 20. Bring someone else on. Run Jordan Scarlett. Do play action with Jordan Scarlett. But McCaffrey didn't need to be out there for in the middle of the third quarter. He wasn't going anywhere. And it was just quite poor. Anyway, bring on to the last thing that you guys should have a real good, hopefully, if you get this early, have a good chat about. Marty Herney's got some serious salary cap stuff to think about, because we've had great drafts in 17, 18, and it looks like this year. But all of a sudden, Shaq Thompson, Vern, and James Bradbury all suddenly look like they want to get paid. That's three people that are looking like they're going to command proper salaries. I don't think any of them are going to be mega salaries, but they're all going to be wanting. Well, I mean, if Eric Reid got 7.5, Shaq's going to want 8 or 9 that he's on this year. Will Vern re-sign for 2 or 3 million, or will he want more than that? Bradbury's going to be high-priced corner. I don't know. I'm running out of time, but yeah, get into the salary cap, because McCaffrey's going to be coming up after this year. It's going to be a serious jumping around. We're losing the DTs this year. They're going to want new contracts. Anyway, fantastic job as ever, guys. Keep pounding. Love you, Susan.
Look at that.
Love you, Susan. Shout out.
Mama, she's the den mama. She takes care of us. All right. Rich brings up the great conversation or a tough conversation. The one nobody really wants to have is that if you are in a position that we're just like in a good place, I don't know. Don't you think that most of the contract stuff also gets determined on how the season goes? Right? That's one thing to think about. But really, there are multiple names coming up on this, guys. Cam Newton is got to be – you get Cam Newton for another year. That's the good news is you actually don't need to – the team should not even think about moving on from Cam Newton because you got him at a reasonable price next year in comparison to what the quarterback market it truly is like. Now, the questions, though, are Kuechly's coming up on his deal. It looks like – Kuechly, Shaq Thompson is a must, or Shaq Thompson is that deal has to be done or not. Bradbury as well. We'll start with those two guys. Cody, what do you got on Shaq Thompson as well as Bradbury? It's gonna be hard to keep both of them.
Well, listen, man, this is why if we believe in Marty Herney, then we have to keep on believing in him. Because the nature of the NFL is as much as you want to, you can't pay everybody. It's just not possible. You're going to have to let some of your better players test the free agent market, and they're going to sign other places. But that's why you have to be able to identify and scout talent. That's why your scouting department is incredibly important. And they're on the grind all college football season, looking at these players and really assessing talent. And it's important, man, because your 6th round pick, like Dennis Daly, might turn out to be the left tackle that you so desperately need. So it's important that Marty Herney continues to put a lot of talent on this football team. But Tony, you raised a very interesting point. We have a lot of guys that we have to sign. Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton, and this is all within the next 2 years. Shaq Thompson, Gerald McCoy is only here for a year. Trey Turner and K'Wan Short are coming near the ends of their deals. Bruce Irvin is only here on 1 year.
Where is Trey Turner? Where is Trey Turner?
McCaffrey.
What's wrong with Trey Turner? Can someone tell me? I don't even know where he is. I haven't even heard anybody talking. Is he like really, really hurt? Like I don't even know. Like we haven't even thought about Trey Turner for like 3 weeks.
I don't know if there's anything to worry about there.
Gosh, I don't know. I'm just I mean, not only I don't want to hear about his contract. I want to hear about him coming back to play. But yeah, I mean, look, the list goes on and on. You can't keep everybody, right? And Marty Herney either. He's done some work, but you got to see the finances. It's gonna be hard. Sorry for interrupting, Cody.
No, you said everything. Go ahead, CK.
Well, I have an interesting take on that. Do we know how much Cam Newton's supposed to make next year if we keep him on the roster?
I think 22 or something. I'll look it up.
I feel like it was a very minute amount as far as to the salary cap. I feel like we had a very front-loaded deal with him, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Only reason I bring that up is
2020 he gets paid $20 million. $21 million against the cap.
So my question then becomes, right now we have a situation where if Kyle Allen continues to ball out, he's an unrestricted free agent next year, right? So we have to pay him either we have to pay him decent backup money or we have to pay him to be a starter. So my question is, do you pay him or do you pay Cam? Because there might be a situation where one of the two is not going to be on the roster next year.
Well, I have to say with that have to, that only comes up if somebody else offers him the money. Like that's the unrestricted part. We only have to pay that.
Well, I promise you somebody will offer him more than $600,000 though, what he's getting right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get more. Is that $8 million? Is it $10 million? That's that $8 million is top backup money, right? But you're talking $20 million to get a starter in this league. That's why I think this is the good news. Is you don't gotta
starting quarterback.
Yeah.
No, way more than that, dude. 27, 28 million.
Well, yeah. Okay, for the top ones, but I'm saying this: you can't even go get a bum for like $18 million
That's
right
what
now.
I'm saying. You're going to essentially pay more.
And
for
you don't
Kyle
have
Allen.
to pay Cam Newton because you already are paying him. So we're in a great spot. Is we get to see if Cam Newton can finish out that, and then after next year we can deal with Cam. The real questions come back though to Bradbury and Shaq and Luke, who is not necessary. He doesn't get done next year or the year after, but he's going to be costing $14 million. So you've got to say, can we pay two $14 million linebackers? That's going to be tough.
I think you can find a situation with Luke where he wants Shaq to stay. So let's restructure. Let's make sure we can.
I think you're right.
For Shaq, because I don't think he wants to have a situation where he doesn't have his guy back there. And Shaq Thompson, I'm telling you right now, those guys are tight. As much as people might not see that, I guarantee you. I mean, if you look at Shaq Thompson's Twitter feed after his mother passed, Thomas Davis commented and said, I'm sorry to hear that, bro. And Shaq said, yeah, my mom loved you and Luke, right? So, I mean, these guys are family, dude. Like, he does not want Shaq to go anywhere, I'm telling you.
That has a lot to do with it. Well, I got to look at it. The average, like the mid-tier linebacker salary is $10 million. And the mid-tier cornerback salary is about $14 million. Okay? So
it's going to be easier to keep Shaq than it is to keep Bradbury, you're saying?
Well, I think we keep both of them, to be truly honest with you, because even though I boast up Bradbury, he's not a Pro Bowl cornerback. He's a good cornerback, and he does the job well, but he is not a top 10 or top 12.
Top 10.
Well, okay, maybe top 10. Maybe not top 5 cornerback, okay? So you're not going to have to pay – you're going to pay him that mid-tier money. Same way with Shaq Thompson. He's great, but he is not top 5. You're going to pay him mid-tier money, So for an average of $10 million and $15 million, we can make that work. Now, the salary cap goes up this year. Every year, the salary cap goes up.
Yeah.
So it adds more money to what you can put in.
But let's keep it 100 though. So Luke Kuechly is balling out, and listen, we all know who Luke is, but when we have to sign him, that'll be a linebacker that has been in the NFL 10 years, and he's had concussion concerns. So I mean, now I'm saying, okay, in that scenario, you're probably not paying Luke, whatever they're going to pay Leighton Vander Esch in Dallas, or whatever the new big time contract. Well, this is what I'm saying. It's not going to be another 4 or 5 year deal like we signed him to last time, I don't think. Just because the average lifespan of a linebacker, Luke is starting to get towards the end of that, I feel. Now, I hope he plays forever because I love the man. But, yeah. Well, yeah, right. No doubt. But I just think I do agree with you, though, with everything that Luke does for the football team and being the maestro of the defense, he's such a valuable asset. I'm hoping that he's willing to take a deal that'll, keep his wallet good and fat, but at the same time helps us be able to sign a lot of people. And like I already mentioned, we have a lot of people that are either going to have to be signed or are going to have to move on somewhere else.
All right. So that's where CK is right on this, though, is because is that the idea is, and I told this to somebody on the Twitter yesterday, and that is if I had tomorrow to pick between one player between these 3 names that I want to keep for the next 3 years, Luke Kuechly, James Bradbury, or Shaq Thompson, I'm picking Luke Kuechly 100 out of 100 times. Right? 100%. So right now we do have Luke Kuechly. So what we are is that we know his skills are not diminished, right? He's still Luke Kuechly. He's still really the best linebacker in the league. Now you get him through contractually through 2021, and what you get is that he's, like you said, at that $14 million range. I think by restructuring or adding, maybe you just add 3 more years now, and you bring that salary from 14 to 9, but he still makes more money in the long run with some security there, then you can get Shaq And that's really the one that could honestly be done. I mean, that could really be done. And it probably needs to be done. The idea that we don't have a ton of depth to move on. We would have to draft a top-tier linebacker quickly to replace Shaq at this point. And you can't replace 2 linebackers. So, I think if we have a little bit more depth, maybe you could go after a corner. It will be tough to get all of them done. But you're right, is the ton of money, a ton of players, and the real name to be talked about when it comes to contractually is Christian McCaffrey. How do you deal with that? And the answer is to entirely sign him today for a 5-year deal and make him the highest paid running back now.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
It is something that you and I talked about. And especially if he keeps on pace, we're going to have to be talking about Christian McCaffrey's contract a lot sooner than when we're supposed to pay him. I mean, that's the kind of guy that you pay early, because no matter what quarterback we have, he's going to help them out tremendously. So,
all right, 2 more calls to get through.
What's going on, C3 family? This is Chef Jeff Hodge calling in.
Chef Jeff?
I just got done reading an article about head of officiating in New York, Al Riveron. Apparently he's been going rogue on all of these pass interference calls and staying with the call on the field. I wondered if any of you guys have had a chance to see any of the plays. I mean, this week was really bad. I mean, it started with the Thursday night game with New York and the Patriots, and it just continued on through the weekend with calls getting upheld on the field when it was obvious that there was pass interference. They had one, I think, during the Kansas City game where Travis Kelce was literally thrown to the ground 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. They threw the flag, called defensive holding, but then came back and said, there is no flag. This player, the player that was held was not the player the ball was intended for. Therefore, there is no defensive holding. I was in shock and amazement. I could not believe what I was watching. And I just wanted to see what your guys' opinion was on that. If Riveron is actually going rogue and he's like trying to make a stand and, trying to tell the NFL, hey, we're going to make the calls on the field and that's just the way it is. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Thanks. Keep pounding.
Cody, I think that this implementation of this new pass interference rule, it may be the biggest rule debacle in the history of the NFL. I mean, going back, this is almost the only thing that could be worse is that a catch. That's the only thing. But at this point, you look at all of that. I don't even know what they look at. Every play that they say they're going to overturn, they don't. And every one that they say they won't, they do.
I mean, to this day, I don't know if there has been one pass interference challenge that went the way of the head coach. Has there literally been fucking one of them? I don't think so. No, it's the dumbest shit in the world. And yeah, shout out to Jeff. And I mentioned it too. Al Riveron is an embarrassment. Like, what is this dude doing? Like the dude is a moron. The dude's an absolute moron. And the fact that none of them have been overturned, it kind of says to me that, like what Jeff says, either Riveron is going rogue or the NFL, frankly, just doesn't give a shit. They're just willing to let whatever happens on the field happens. And if that's the case, I don't know how anyone keeps their job up in the NFL front office. But it is embarrassing, man. I don't know. I hate to defend the Lions, because fuck the Lions, honestly. Matthew Stafford's the most overrated quarterback since I've been watching football.
Good fantasy quarterback, though.
But I mean, they got jobbed. And it's embarrassing because we want to say that, especially if we're playing, that our football team was the better football team. We kicked your ass. Not, the referee has pretty much handed you a first down to keep you in the football game.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, man, this is a TV show, and they want the best ratings. It is the highest rated TV show as far as viewers and money of any television show throughout the entire year. NFL is. They want to keep that money flowing in, so they want teams like Green Bay, New England, Seattle, all those teams that are big market teams to be at the forefront of what's going on because they're going to lose money otherwise. They have the most fans in that fan base, and if you're a small market team, you are not going to get those calls. Carolina going 15-1 was because Carolina went 15-1.
They need to call up Dallas. They need to call up Dallas. There were 6 Dallas lost to the Jets. They're not even doing a good job if it's television and it's orchestrated. Last call.
Hey guys, this is Jedi Jor calling. Hey guys, this is Jedi Jor calling in on my lunch break.
Yeah, like it.
It's a lot of chatter going on about the Panthers nowadays, and it's always revolving the one great Cam Newton, and whether he's going to be able to come back, and if he comes back, is he going to have a job? Should we trade him? All this other stuff. I'm in the camp of if Cam can come back this season, I think that'll set us over the edge with our defense and Christian McCaffrey playing the way he is. But I don't know. This is the other ways. I like Kyle Allen. He's been great, but at the end of the day, he's been great at being a game manager. The offense, the way it's set up now, it really needs a second superstar to really set them over the edge to compete against some of the better teams in the NFC. And ultimately, it's the AFC team from the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, if he can make it that far. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I'm hoping Cam can come back and prove all the doubters wrong. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Keep on this.
That's what we all want. We all hope, and we are waiting to see. And he's right. It really is right. We all know it when we watch the team, Cody, is that we're just is that if we don't think we're like explosive just yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, our offense, and we've this is coming off of a game where we almost put up almost 40 points.
Yeah,
and we're saying that our offense isn't that explosive yet, and we're not wrong. I mean, it is that way. I think that but I kind of feel like you're seeing what this offense is, right? I don't think that even with Cam Newton, as much as I love and believe in his potential, it's not about him. I think with Norv Turner, this is kind of what our offense is. We're going to rely on Christian McCaffrey. We're going to try and get him out in space when we can. And, on second downs, we'll try and switch it up and do some reverse and get Greg Olsen out in space. We're going to do these kinds of things, but I really honestly don't know how much the play calling is going to change. And then there are those that feel that Turner has called different plays or a different playbook for Kyle Allen as opposed to Cam Newton.
Well, sure. You wouldn't like call a little bit like as you want to bend towards your player a little. I think, hey, there's nothing wrong with us giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey and winning. And with Cam Newton out there, like, let's just see put Cam Newton out. That's what I'm saying is that, is that the offense is doing what it needs to do right now, right?
Yes.
But we know that add a little juice. Add a little juice. Okay, go ahead. Let's go ahead and go ahead, Greg. Sorry, I was thinking about one other thing.
You're good, man. I just want to bring up one thing me and CK were talking about the other day on Twitter about this, and it has to do with Cody was saying, the play calling and whether it's changed for Kyle Allen or Cam Newton. And I brought up to CK the other day on Twitter that there is one thing I see that Kyle Allen does way better than Cam Newton, and I think it has to do with the way it's changed the way things have come out. And I don't know if it's because of the play calling or what, but Kyle Allen gets to the line with 17 to 21 seconds left every single play. Okay? Cam Newton gets to the line every single play with 7 to 5 seconds. Now, I get it that giving your offense that rest helps, but you're also giving the defense that chance to rest and your defense that chance to scheme and change their players out. Kyle Allen gets up to the line with half the play clock left and gets there and calls whatever play is given to him. And I don't know if it is him being a better quarterback as far as, calling the plays or they're calling different plays. Like they're saying, Kyle Allen, this is what you're going to run. Go out there and run it. No questions asked. Whereas Cam Newton, they say, Cam, you have this, this, or this. If you see something different, call a different play. And I feel like the timing you give between each play has a big deal to do with the way the game is played. Because when we play fast pace with Cam Newton, run the line, hurry up, no offense, he plays great.
Yeah,
he really does. And whenever you let him play the way he wants to, 3-4 seconds left on the clock, he gets the ball 1 second left. They know exactly when the snap count is. They have time to read the play. They have time to rest. Like they have time to change players out. Like I just feel like that has a big deal with the way the play calling is going. So CK, put your point out there.
So my point is, to one that you already brought up, is I think that Kyle Allen comes out and they tell him, here's your play. The microphone in your headset cuts out at 15 seconds before the end of the play. So if he's already got the play, there's no need for him to sit there and look at the defense. He's going to run what he sees.
Right.
Cam Newton, I think it's a matter of confidence. He's got the play at least 15 seconds before that clock runs down. I think he's looking at the defense. He's making his decisions. He's making his reads, and he's able to adjust the offense the way that he could. I can't tell you that there's, how many times that I've seen Cam alter the play. I can't even remember seeing Kyle Allen calling an audible, but maybe a few times.
Right.
But beyond that, let's talk about the no huddle. That's, again, Cam Newton's confidence because he's calling the plays a lot of times in that situation. Right. Hey, let's go hurry up and get to the line. I'm going to go ahead and, we're going to do this play. It's not necessarily that he is being forced into it. I think he would probably prefer no huddle because that seems to be his strength. I don't know. I think it's a matter of confidence, and I think Cam Newton has it. That's why that timing is a little off.
Cam has historically not been the greatest, though, at avoiding delay of games and unnecessary time.
But I feel that's also Ron Rivera, too.
Yeah, we don't know who it is, but it's not been happening the last couple of games. It hasn't been happening.
I feel like it always sounds like I'm trying to deflect away from Cam Newton. But I feel like, that Tony, this is something that you and I have said for a long time, that Cam Newton thrives in those hurry-up situations. Get to the line, let Cam Newton see what the defense is giving, and let him change the play accordingly. But it's like Norv Turner and Ron Rivera for at least as long as Turner has been here, have tried to outthink the room. And that dated back to Mike Shula as well. So I don't know if Kyle is or isn't better. I think that's a lot to do with our coaching. Mm-hmm. I want Cam Newton to be in control of our offense because he's proven capable of doing it.
I just don't want him to get delay of games. Yeah. That's it. That's it. It's not is that there is. I think it's a reasonable observation though to say. I think both points are very important. One is that Cam is adjusting, Kyle Allen likely isn't. But there also is Cam has let that clock get to the end a lot of times unnecessarily. And it seems like, yes, you can say it's the coaches that are, tell them not to go too fast, but I don't think they're also saying get to 1 second either. You know what I mean? If he wanted to slightly uptick the offense, go a little bit faster, I think he could go 2 or 3 seconds faster too.
Absolutely. Well, and that keeps the defense on. If it's down to 1, guess what? The defense knows the ball's about to be snapped. Right.
And you saw that last night when Detroit guy, guy jumped that thing. He got off. Yeah, it was crazy. All right, let's go on. Because we said we were going to do it. We've teased it. The time is here. This is the time. What do we even call it, Cody?
So I have been calling it C3, believe it or not, because I find it. Almost poetic. My theory has been that you do not see who is a legitimate contender until after week 6. So week 1 through 6, there's a lot of fibbing going on. There's a lot of BS that a lot of people are believing and getting high off of. And I'm here to tell you that a lot of these teams that people are really high on right now, I don't think they're going to be able to sustain that going down the stretch. So my idea was
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. My idea was I just have up the NFL power rankings. I just chose the NFL, and we could just kind of bounce around a few of these teams and say if we believe that this is a legitimate contender football team or not.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, obviously, Patriots have to be are they number one in the power rankings, 6-0?
Yeah, so 1, 2, and 3 right now, and we can also critique the rankings if we want. We have the Patriots at 1, the Niners at 2, and the Saints at number 3.
Okay.
All right. So I mean, obviously, Patriots are not pretenders, right?
No.
The Patriots are going to be like at this point. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if they wheel Tom Brady out there in a damn wheelchair. They win. Now their defense is the best. You know what I'm saying? It's always they can run the ball. So all right, San Francisco.
I can't say that real quick, Tony. If they were in a different division, they would be pretenders. The fact that they have the easiest division of football.
They're 6-0.
Years. The fact
But
that
let me tell you, okay, but
25 years, man. Easiest division of football. It's insane. Like you can't brush that aside.
But let me tell you
they
why.
are great. But you can't brush
Listen,
that
their division is terrible. But
Every
I
year.
mean, but listen, here's the deal though. They go into the playoffs every year, and they defeat whatever team that comes at them. They go on the road. They beat teams. It's one thing if they're only playing the Jets and the Bills and the Dolphins, but
players come and go. Players come and go. You know what I'm saying? 1 week they beat you with the run game. The next week they throw 500 yards. 1 week they beat you defensively. Yeah. So is that I don't even is they would thank God they're in that division. Thank God they're in that division.
So okay,
right.
then let's jump to this one because I feel like this is the one I'm interested to hear. San Francisco. So we all agree that the Patriots are contenders, but what do we think about San Francisco right now?
I say contender.
Or pretender?
I say contender.
Pretender.
CK, what you think, man?
It's one of the hardest ones, man, because they put together some really good games. I say contender, but not number 2 in the NFL contender. I say they're like number 8.
I'm with you 100%.
I'm about right where you are. I do think they're a contender. My problem is I don't know that Jimmy Garoppolo is the type of quarterback that everyone thought that he was.
Exactly.
And I just don't see him. You know, if they're in the same division and that division comes down to them and the Seahawks, who we're going to talk about in a second, I trust Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll more than I do Garoppolo and Shanahan. Who, by the way, don't let history let you forget Kyle Shanahan engineered that epic choke job for Atlanta. So I do
defense just as much as anything.
I do think San Francisco is a good football team. I do not believe that they're going to win their division or be a legitimate contender in the playoffs.
Here's the deal: is that San Francisco is a contender, and CK is right. Is that they're not number 2, but they've got a recipe that can take you to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've got a defense. They have a run game, and check this stat out. Here for you, I'm going into the stat cave. Jimmy Garoppolo is 13-2 as a starter.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter if he plays shitty. It doesn't matter if he plays shitty or not. They win. You got to say that they're legit.
Here's the thing. If you're going to use that argument, Tony, you've got to actually apply that to the Panthers too, because what was happening with the 49ers, let's talk about when he was traded to the 49ers. He came to a very trash team, and he went undefeated there the last half of the season. I think he rattled off 7 in a row. The problem with that stat is they were crowning him as being one of the greatest quarterbacks already. If you look at his numbers, he was very, very inconsistent as a quarterback. But their argument was that they were raising the bar, like he was raising other players up to be great. Great.
No. Yeah, he's not doing that. He's not doing that. But here's the deal: is they don't have a Cam Newton either, or they didn't have a Cam Newton. Jimmy G he's sorry. He's not even that good really at times, but he's getting better each week.
Well, you know what the difference is? Is Jimmy G dates a porn star, and Cam Newton married a stripper. So
so Garoppolo went one level too far. All right. So let's keep this ball rolling, and this is the interesting one right here. The New Orleans Saints. Are they a pretender or are they a contender? And I'll just start here, man. I'm not gonna dance around the subject. I said this earlier. We're gonna have to take out New Orleans. I don't think we're gonna be able to trust anybody else to do it. I think that we're an eerily similar football team to New Orleans right now, and that it doesn't really matter, who the quarterback is. The game plan is the same. Run the football and distribute the football to different offensive weapons that you have, and let your defense do the rest. If New Orleans, they're gonna, as long as they have Sean Payton, they're a contender. If we want to move them out the way, we got to do it our damn selves.
No. I have to say that the Saints are a pretender, and the only reason I say that is because they've won 2 games this year where they've scored less than 14 points. Historically, in the NFL, when you score less than 16 points, you lose 86% of the time, and they won both those games. Okay?
We used to be good at that.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like you can't win, you can't be a contender if you're scoring 12 points a game against defenses. Like it's just not, and winning the game, it's not going to happen. Like you will not see a team that can consistently win games and score 12 to 14 points a game. And I know they have their backup quarterback in there, so that there is an excuse for that. But as of right now, I consider them a pretender. We will take them over probably next week as the number 1 in the division, and I think they'll make a wild card, and they'll probably make a good run because they're a damn good team. But 14 points, 16 points is not going to win Super Bowls.
Crazy. He's crazy, CK.
So when I look here at the standings, so the people they've beaten the Texans, they've beaten the Rams, they've beaten the Seahawks. Here's the part about this.
All in the top 10, by the way.
Yeah. So when I look at that, the Rams are the only ones that I would say, The Texans, we beat them as well, but I mean at the same time, that was the first game of the season, and that's where, to Cody's point, we don't really know who we're dealing with in the first game of the season. At that point, then we go to the Cowboys, and the Bucks, and then the Jaguars. And what you see is a pretty inconsistency. You see 30 points they scored. You see 9 points they scored against the Rams, 33 points they scored against the Seahawks, 12 points they scored against the Cowboys. And this is back-to-back weeks, by the way. So like every other week they're scoring 30 points. 30 points against the Bucks, 13 points against the Jaguars. So when you look at that, there's a huge inconsistency. I still think when you look at the reality of it, I think they're just too talented of a team. They're very well coached. There is no way they're not a contender. I just think that maybe they're being crowned a little bit too much at this point. We'll see what we have with them when we face, but I think we're going to find out either we're real or they're real, one of the two, when we have to play them soon. So,
well, you know what everybody forgets when they talk about the Saints is the 3 back-to-back seasons they went 7-9. And nobody talks about that. They went 7-9, 7-9, 7-9. Then they got Alvin Kamara. Then they won the division the last 2 years. And all of a sudden,
that's a big deal. They're division
winners
2 years in a row.
Huh?
I mean,
you know what? We were division winners 3 years in a row.
They lost to the Saints. They lost to the Rams, by the way. The Saints did.
Yeah, 33-9. That's it. They won
27.
Yeah.
Well, but to if I can and kind of make my own amendment to what Greg said, it's not even that they're 7-9, or that they were 7-9 so many years in a row. How about you go into the playoffs the last 2 years in a row and choke in heartbreaking fashion?
Well, they got robbed.
Dude, it's hard to. But dude, this is the deal, though. It's hard to do this every single year.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you already see with injuries. Everyone's rejuvenated their football team with talent. I mean, it's tough to win in the NFL.
How about this? Who's more real, the Saints or the 49ers?
Saints.
Saints.
Yeah, I think the Saints. But
Right, that answers the question,
The
I
Saints,
think.
but look at Drew Brees' stats. The last 8 games of the season, the last 2 years, and tell me he's a real.
The Saints.
Like
the Saints are real until they ain't. You know,
Until the
and right now,
last-
and they real right now. All right, what's next, Cody? Who's next on the list?
All right, so
On your
right
mind.
now, yeah,
It's got to be KC.
Well, listen, there's a few good teams we could talk about, but I know that
Packers?
Greg had some feelings on this, and Tony had some differing opinions. So let's talk about the Green Bay Packers.
Let's do it.
Sitting
All right.
at number 4, they're 5-1. They're number 1 in the NFC North. Let's start with my man Tony Dunn. Tony Dunn, what are you feeling about this Green Bay Packers?
This is a simple question. The Packers are for real. They have now finally put a good defense on the field, and Aaron Rodgers has been arguably the best quarterback that we've seen in the NFL for the past 10 years. He has struggled with injury a couple of times in the past, but you saw Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't matter who gets hurt on that wide receiver core. Put somebody else in. He's throwing dimes, man. And those passes were just gorgeous. And he's a real proven quarterback now with a defense. The Packers are better than people think they are.
Okay. I will counter that with, I agree with you that I believe Aaron Rodgers is probably the best thrower of the ball I've probably ever seen, especially with some of those passes I saw the other night, like last night. Amazing passes. I could catch those balls covered the way they were.
Yeah, he throw them to you in your house. Like all of a sudden he'll be like, throw it through that window over there and you hit your mom in the head.
But let's look at it like this, okay? The Packers scored 10 points against the Bears. While the Bears are a great defense, they scored 10 points, okay? They beat the Vikings by 5 points. The Vikings are a garbage team.
No, they're not.
They beat the Broncos by 9 points. The Broncos are a low-level team. They got blown out by the Eagles at home, okay? They barely beat the Packers. They almost let the Packers come back on them. They were up 31-3.
The Cowboys.
And they almost let the Cowboys, sorry. They almost let the Cowboys come back on them, up 31-3. And they barely beat the Lions only because the ref gave them that game. Okay? They are a good team. They are a playoff team, possibly win their division, but they're in a very tough division, maybe wild card. They are not a top 4 team in the NFL, though. Aaron Rodgers,
I tell you this, CK, is I'd rather play damn 49ers than I would freaking Green Bay in the playoffs right now.
So I want to. So I almost want to side with Greg, and I only say that because he points out, the one team that I think would counteract is the Vikings, right? Most people would say they're actually a really good team. The problem was early on they weren't. They weren't letting Kirk Cousins throw the ball. They were really restricting their offense. And that's in a game plan manner. That was what they were trying to do. Now, why I bring that up is they were playing the Vikings and they only won by 5 points when the Vikings weren't playing good football. They were playing decent defense, but they weren't playing offense in a way that was going to be able to stay high-powered. So what I mean by this is they faced a really tough defense in Chicago. And they only scored 10 points. Chicago doesn't have an offense. I don't care who's going to tell me one way or another. Trubisky is not the answer to their questions.
Right.
So when you have a situation like that, and you see the fact they should have lost against Detroit, that game was much more in the favor of Detroit than the stats look like they are. That was a Detroit game through and through for the entirety. Just Aaron Rodgers is a magician. But I think I still think they're a contender, but I wouldn't put them in the top 5. I'd put them probably 8 or 9 until we see them actually defeat a good team when they're playing well. Then we'll have a conversation about them.
I agree with you.
All right, man. So it's gonna have to be 2 and 2. I'm gonna line up with my man Tony Dunn, because listen, I just okay, and I'm about to say this about the Seahawks as well. I can say this about the Packers and the Seahawks. And you saw this with the Jets. And by the way, shout out to Greg. We all wanted to clown on Greg for saying that the Jets might be a wild card team. Well, hey, you see what happens when Sam Darnold comes back, and it's a testament to the quarterback position. And I'm just listen. I've seen Aaron Rodgers play his best football time and time again later on in the season when it matters most. And there's a lot of parallels between a lot of the better teams in that they're playing defense. The Packers have a pass rush, y'all. They're not asking their quarterback to do everything. I would argue that this might be one of the better, more dangerous teams in all the NFC right now. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with this. I could easily see them getting into the playoffs and even making it to the NFC Championship game. They're a well-rounded football team. As much as I hate to say that, that's just how I feel, man. I think the Packers are a contender right now.
Well, real quick, before we go on to the next one, I just want to say that me saying that I don't think the Packers are a contender doesn't have anything to do with my Aaron Rodgers feeling. I think that Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not a Packers fan, okay? But,
I'm not even an Aaron Rodgers fan.
Yeah,
but I agree with that statement.
A great quarterback does not mean you are going to win.
No doubt.
You know?
No doubt.
For all that shitting on the Vikings, though, is that they did lose in Green Bay and in Chicago. 2 division losses does hurt.
Two of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
But then listen. Okay, so then real quick, let's try and do 2 more. We'll do 2 more NFC and 2 more AFC, and then we can move on to whatever else. Since we're already talking about them, let's talk about Minnesota. And I'll go first. I'm with Greg on this. I don't believe in this Minnesota team, dude. I just don't. I feel they have a quarterback that will be a liability down the stretch. And even though they do have 2 of the better receivers in football, I think Dalvin Cook is injury prone. And I've just seen Minnesota blow it too many times. And I think Mike Zimmer is still the same head coach that's going to do the same old thing. I do not trust Minnesota to be a legitimate playoff football team. I don't trust it.
I agree with all those points. Everyone you just made, I agree with. Somebody else go.
I think they're a contender. When you see what they win. They beat the Raiders 34-14. That's a 20-point differential. They beat the Giants. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a they're incredible wins, but they beat the Giants 28-10. That's 3 possessions. They beat the Eagles 38-20. That's 3 possessions right there. And once again, these aren't fantastic teams, but when they lose, they beat the Falcons 28-12, 2 possessions. They lost to the Packers by 5 points. They lost to the Bears by 10 points, and that was one of the situations that they should have never been in because they once again are restricting Kirk Cousins from actually letting things go. I think they're a contender. I think their stats show that they are. If they actually allow their team to play, I think Mike Zimmer was holding them back because he wants to play a certain game. I think they're contenders.
Here's why they're contenders. They're wild card. Look, the Packers are going to end up winning the NFC North. Probably. The Minnesota Vikings are a real wild card contender, and I'm going to tell you why. The schedule at first glance seems, when I read the names of the teams off, you're going to go, wow, that's a really tough schedule. But I'm going to tell you how this schedule is surmountable. All right, next week they're on the road in Detroit. That's a very tough game. That will tell us a lot about the Vikings next week. But then they host the Redskins, then they go to Kansas City, Cowboys, Vikings, Seahawks, Vikings, Chargers, Vikings. What am I saying? I said Vikings. Of course they're playing the Vikings. They are the Vikings. So it goes Lions, Redskins at home, Chiefs on the road, Cowboys on the road, Broncos at home, Seahawks on the road, Lions at home, Chargers on the road, Packers at home, Bears at home. Here's why that schedule, it sounds scary at first because you say Chiefs, Cowboys, and Seahawks. But here's the deal is that if they can beat the Lions this week, they got the Redskins, that's doable. The Vikings are a team that can beat the Chiefs. And the reason being is they have a run game and a defense. And the way to beat the Chiefs, we've seen, is to keep their offense off the field. The Cowboys, you can beat the Cowboys. The Broncos are beatable. The Seahawks they'll probably lose to. But having division games at home, their home environment is a tough place to win. I think that the Vikings are legitimate contenders and could be a scary team to face if their offense can find a way to really start putting points up or continue to put points up. All right, what was the next team?
All right, so we'll do. All right, how about this? How about the Buffalo Bills at 4-1? I feel like this is easy for everyone to just shit on because it's the Buffalo Bills, and it's like whatever. But right now, NFL has them ranked at number 10 and the Panthers at 12. So, which the Cowboys at 11. What the hell are they smoking?
Yeah.
But the Bills. Do you have a strong opinion on the Buffalo Bills?
I do,
because I will say that I don't know, man. I don't trust that yet. I can't say that I trust that this is a team that is a real contender. I think they're going to start strong. They'll put up some good performances, but I just think that this team doesn't have enough offensive firepower or the run game to consistently put up points down the stretch and in that division. Well, not necessarily that division, but they're going to play the Patriots again. I don't see it. I do not buy the Buffalo Bills as a contender. I say they are pretenders.
Pretender. Go.
All right.
And I said I'm long-winded. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. They gave Tom Brady his worst passer rating in over 10 years, almost probably, 2006 when they played him. They won. They lost 16-10, and they were one concussion away from winning because Josh Allen was driving that ball. He's Mr. Second Half, and he was coming in, and he was actually making some progress on that drive. I think they had an opportunity to win that game. Outside of that, I think they're contenders, and I'm going to tell you why. And the same reason I think the Patriots are contenders. Their AFC East this year has the easiest schedule out of any other division. Yeah. If you look at it, they play the NFC East. It's just not. If you go and look, it's almost hysterical to see what the Patriots' schedule is. Same thing with the Bills. I think they'll make it in as a wild card. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they'll make it in as a wild card. So I think they're a contender in that respect. They're not going to make it past the wild card round, though.
Okay. Well, real quick, before I answer mine, I want to specify two things. One, real quick, Tony, 12-pack, your choice of beer, the Packers will not win their division. I'm calling it right now. You take me on that or not?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, 12-pack, your choice. Packers will not win their division. Okay, so we're laying out there right now. It's out there on the Twitterverse. It's out there on YouTube. We know.
Yep.
So everybody
it's official. We
Second
have witnesses.
All, what are we determining as contenders? Are we determining people we think are going to win the Super Bowl, or people we think can make some noise in the playoffs?
Well, so what I mean is a team that when
makes
I say
the
a
playoffs.
contender, well, yeah, but also can make a push to be a Super Bowl team.
Okay,
so down the stretch, you start to get a feel of okay, this team they can make a legitimate run. Whereas there are teams that we know are going to be in the playoffs and they'll fizzle out.
If that's the case, then I have to say that Buffalo is a contender, simply because I've seen the Giants make the playoffs 2 times as a wild card and win the Super Bowl. Okay. So I feel like the Bills are a contender. They have a solid defense. They have a decent offense with a young quarterback. I think that they can make the wild card. They're not going to win the division because they're obviously. But I think they are a contender to win 4 games if they make the playoffs. It's possible. It can happen. So, contender.
I'm going on record to say the Buffalo Bills will not represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I'm going on record saying that.
I'm not
All right. I think there's other teams, though. Is that be more interested in the Ravens or the Texans as a team than I would be the Bills? Not to shit on them. I'm not trying to say they're awful, but I just don't think is that even if they got a wild card berth, I have more. I'm interested in talking about pick the next team. Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 more teams. We'll do one more AFC and we'll do one more NFC. Let's do the number 7 ranked Kansas City Chiefs. Are we talking about contenders? Or are we talking about pretenders? And now I feel everyone will jump to say, hey, man, they got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the best thing since sliced bread. But I'm telling you, man, that defense, it's the same thing as last year. They're going to have to depend on Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, whom I traded away and Greg in fantasy football because maybe I'm a dumbass, but whatever, that's here nor there. They're going to have to depend on that offense to put up 1 billion points every game like we saw last year on Monday Night Football against the Rams. I think they're going to be in the playoffs, but I do not think this is a team that can compete to win a Super Bowl. They're not a well-rounded enough football team. Now, whose offense do I prefer? Kansas City or Green Bay? Kansas City all day. But Green Bay, in my mind, has a much more well-rounded roster, and they're playing better defense. I don't trust Kansas City to go all the way.
I tell you there will be no one-dimensional team that beats the Patriots. Right? Yeah. I mean, to beat the mighty, mighty Patriots is going to take an offensive and a defensive effort. And you know that there's something weird about Kansas City. They get man, Frank Gore, was it Frank Gore?
Yeah.
Who was it? Whoever's running for Houston now, I think it's Frank Gore. Somebody like that's been in the league. He like 38. And
Frank Gore's playing for the Bills, I think.
Yeah, I think that's Buffalo he's playing for.
Who's that? It's the other guy. No, he came from San Francisco. He came from San Francisco. Frank Gore used to play for. Yes.
Yeah, Frank Gore did used to play for San Francisco.
Yeah. Carlos Hyde looked like he looked like, I think, where is he for Kansas City? Whoever it was looked like a damn Dorsett out there. Tony Dorsett against the damn Kansas City Chiefs. And somebody look it up. Somebody look it up.
Carlos Hyde. Duke Johnson as well.
Yeah, it was Carlos Hyde. All right, so here is that. I just don't think that the Chiefs right now is that. Look, you can't win like that in NFL. You just have to have more than just Patrick Mahomes. It's just and let's be honest. That's all it is. I mean, and Tyreek Hill. All right, who's next, Cody?
CK, did you say?
Did anybody? Did I?
I don't think. I think they're a pretender, and it has a lot to do with that defense, but it also has to do with that offense does not know how to run out of clock. They only know how to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that makes it really hard on a defense when they're not actually playing well. That's going to put situations in a pretty bad spot to where you're not really going to be able to run the game down to double zeros without giving the opponent an opportunity. So, pretenders. I think you're going to see an interesting step back from Patrick Mahomes this year. You're going to see a Patrick Mahomes who is not going to come close to his MVP caliber season.
A sophomore slump, if you will.
No. Third year, like junior slump, but yeah.
Yeah, but he technically didn't play. But whatever. Greg, what are you feeling, man?
I'm the same with CK here. I think pretenders, and for almost the exact same reason, I think they're one-dimensional. I think that if you get them down early, and if you can stop them from scoring 3 or 4 drives out of the game, and you continue to pound on offense, you will beat this team. Houston showed it last week. They were down 13 or 16 points. And they came back and strung off 22 or 23 points.
And I went and watched that game. Watson wasn't even great. They weren't even good that game.
Yeah, they weren't.
The Texans, they dropped like 5 touchdowns. The Texans should have beat them by like 40.
Yeah, that's my point. The Texans weren't even that good, and they still beat them.
Yeah,
but Deshaun Watson was
one-dimensional.
Deshaun Watson was awesome, but his receivers were dropping passes in the end zone.
Yeah, over the place.
And they still came back.
I hope it's your next AFC team.
Well, no, but I mean, we could do it, but I was going to go one more NFC team. And that's our old friends, our old buddy, old pals, the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
At 5-1, and Russell Wilson is getting a lot of MVP love right now. He's playing out of his mind. I mean, listen, they were on the road against Cleveland, and they were down by double digits, and they came back and won the football game. Now, it was against the Browns, but, dude, they have, in my mindset, that kind of grittiness that's been on that team for a long time now, where they're going to fight you tooth and nail. They have a culture there. They have a winning football culture. They play tough on defense. Bobby Wagner is no Luke, but he does anchor that defense. And, you have to bet on Russell Wilson. This is a legitimate contender in the NFC.
Okay.
How can they not be, right? I can honestly say this is I don't know if I've watched a full Seattle Seahawks game this season, right? And I've been expecting them at some point to just lose a game. They've had some tough things. They've had to go beat the Rams. They've had to, you know what I mean? Like you just expect at some point they're be mortal, but they're immortal. Every time right now they're just winning, and it does. Why say pretender, right? Contender all the way for me.
And we have to play them too towards the end of the season. CK, what you thinking, man?
Dude, it's hard to say anything other than contender. I mean, you look at that offense. Tyler Lockett, probably one of the best receivers in the
little baby Lockett. That's what we wanted Bird to become.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have DK Metcalf, who's really kind of coming into his own. They have a good 4 to 5 receivers that are really good receivers. So I think that they have a lot when it comes to offense. You have Chris Carson. They had Disley before he's lost for the season. But it's, outside of that, and then you look at Russell Wilson, man, he is playing lights out.
He's a magic man. He's a magic man. He's
smooth. And I can't remember the last time that I've ever seen them play where I wasn't confident he could, like if they were down by 6 and they needed a touchdown. I don't think it's been a long time since I was watching them play where I didn't think he could bring it back.
Yeah,
I've tried to poo-poo Russell Wilson his whole career. It's impossible. It's
hard.
Done with it.
Can't do it.
Can't
do it.
And then that defense, right? Jadeveon Clowney, they're getting back, a really big anchor on their defensive line this week as well. And their secondary is not playing bad. I mean, they're just all. I say, in my opinion, I think they're a top Green Bay certainly for being more well-rounded than Green Bay, in my opinion.
I don't want to play them.
No.
Well,
we have
to get back.
It turns out we got to
it, Tony.
We'll be there. Actually, I do want to play them then, just not in the playoffs.
All right.
Well, no, last time
so,
you put in the playoffs, you blew them out of the water. So, kind of piggybacking on what CK said there, I believe they're a contender too. And, I hate saying it because I'm a Panthers fan, but Russell Wilson is the quarterback I expected Cam Newton to be. And I said this a few weeks ago on the show. He will always, no matter what he has, make it work. They will always make the playoffs. Has he missed the playoffs the year he's been in the NFL?
Yeah, so they didn't make the playoffs last year. But that was the only time since Russell Wilson's been in Seattle that they didn't make the playoffs.
But that was only because of a tiebreaker with Dallas, where Dallas won the last game, right?
It was something. It was
something crazy like that.
Something ridiculous.
Either way,
I'm
not a Seahawks fan, but man, Russell Wilson is the man. That guy can get it done. I don't care what anybody says, man. That guy has all the intangibles. He can throw the ball. He can scramble. He's smart. Everything about him is what I expected Cam Newton to be whenever Cam Newton came in the league. And, I'm not afraid to say Cam Newton's fallen short of what Russell Wilson is. If you're looking at a Hall of Fame ballot and you have Cam Newton and Russell Wilson, you got to decide between the two. Right now, I'm taking Russell Wilson. I'm not gonna lie.
He's got Super Bowls. He's got Super Bowls. Here's my thing: is I just suddenly realized what it would take for me to say I want Kyle Allen over Cam Newton.
What's that?
All right, this is what would have to happen. The Panthers would have to be playing the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship game in Seattle with that deafening ass roar that would be there if they were going to the, you know what I'm saying? You know how Seattle gets with Jadeveon Clowney. If Kyle Allen could beat that, that's it, and go to the Super Bowl and then win the Super Bowl. But I would say that is that he would have to go on the road in Seattle in the NFC Championship. That's what it probably would take for me to really to say, okay, let's try to play Kyle Allen.
Yeah, I hear you.
I would almost say that's what it would take for me to say, let's play Kyle Allen in the Super Bowl if Cam came back healthy that week.
Yeah. You got to start Cam at least one snap. If they get the Super Bowl, you got to start one snap.
Oh my gosh! Imagine, I don't want to play them in their house late. Yuck. All right.
I agree.
So, unless you guys have another team you want to bring up, that's all I got for you.
I got one.
Okay, who you got?
Carolina Panthers.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. Who's believing in the Cowboys?
I'm gonna start off. They are pretenders.
Yeah.
Pretenders. They played the three first teams in the NFL, went 3-0. Everybody put them in the Super Bowl. Then they play real competition. They're 3-3.
You know what
Dallas
I love
Cowboys
about this is
garbage.
What I love about the Dallas Cowboys is the same thing I said about the Browns. Is they're the Browns. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, come on. You know that, like, Jason Garrett ain't going to be able to figure this out.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. And I think for me, I think that's probably all I got. I don't think anybody else in the NFC. I mean, you could ask the Texans, I think, or a team you could ask that question about. I don't think I've seen enough from them just yet. Panthers, I think we probably got to say, actually, let's ask that. Panthers. I think we're contenders. The defense, man, and Christian McCaffrey make us contenders. I ain't scared of none of these other teams. Are you scared of the Rams? Not really. Are you scared of the Eagles? I think they're mortal, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. They've showed that they're not really much at all. They have the worst secondary in the face of the planet.
We're really scared of the NFC North, man. That's who we are. This NFC North and the NFC West. Okay. All right. That's it. That's it. Go ahead, Cody.
I won't spend time on this. I'll just say, look for Philadelphia to make a push. That's a better team than the 500 football.
They have been hurt early.
Right,
they have been hurt early. If they could get healthy, that would help a lot.
If they can make a push, I thought they were going to have to push for Jalen Ramsey. When they went to the Rams, I thought it was the end of the season for the Eagles. If they can get somebody on the secondary that can actually make some plays, then they might be in a good spot. But I don't think that without a secondary, I think they're in they're in the same boat that Tampa Bay is.
Yeah. All right. So who wins this week? The Falcons. Who the Falcons got this week? They got somebody. Let's see.
Hey, real quick, can you give me the score of who's where in scores with the picks?
I haven't kept up. We have to go back and listen to all the damn thing.
Okay.
So next, all right, that's
Cody's winning. Cody's winning. That's what.
Do you know that? I feel like I
gotta be Cody.
Do you know that? Because next Tuesday, we need some official numbers on.
I know I'm not winning because I haven't gotten anything right.
So Atlanta, they are playing
the Rams. They're hosting the Rams.
Yeah, they have the Rams and
how do you pick the Falcons? I'm not picking the Falcons. I pick the Rams. I will not pick the Falcons ever again.
As Steve Smith said, this is going to be a get-right game for Rams.
Yeah, you said it.
I agree.
All right, so I got the Rams.
Yeah, I've got.
Is anybody picking the Falcons? Just that's the question.
I'm going to pick the Falcons. I'm going to pick the Falcons, and you know why? They just now trade. Well, they have Jalen Ramsey. He's coming in, but I don't know if he's going to actually be up to date. And they have put Aqib Talib on injured reserve, so I'm not sure they have a cohesive unit there. So there is a chance that Atlanta lights it up, but it depends upon if they let Aaron Donald get to Matt Ryan.
Well, the problem is Atlanta's going to light it up regardless, but they're not going to stop anybody else from scoring touchdowns.
I think
so it doesn't matter.
I think Jared Goff is not playing.
Give up 37. You know.
I imagine it. I have the Rams 42-24.
Oh my goodness.
Let me just read this stat off to you. The Falcons lost last week 34-33 on the road in Arizona. And this was Matt Ryan's stat line. 30 for 36 for 356 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Now you got to
He threw 350, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and that mug lost, right?
Well, you got to read Kyler Murray, though. In the whole game, there were only 15 drop passes. In the whole game, 15.
Yeah, he was 27 for 37, 340, 3 touchdowns, right? And did he have any rushing? He had he had 30 yards rushing. That was it.
Yeah.
Now, yes, he played well, but like it's not any better than what Matt Ryan did. That tells you that the Arizona Cardinals, I don't know, that the Falcons, how do you even do that? The Falcons defense is worse than the Cardinals defense. That's what the story is.
That's what's sad.
That's it. They're worse than the Cardinals defense.
Yeah.
That's not something to be proud of.
Atlanta has 5 sacks on the season.
Oh, God.
By the way, we have 27.
Oh, I'm waiting for us to face them, dude.
Brian Burns has more sacks than their whole team, I bet.
Yeah, I know Mario Addison does.
Yeah. All right.
So we all picked the Rams.
Yes.
Okay. So we got the Saints against the Chicago Bears.
Saints.
Where's it at?
It is at Chicago. It is the late game on Fox.
This is where New Orleans falls. It's got to be here. Can it be? Is it Trubisky? Their offense is the defense wins this game alone. That's what I say. Chicago's defense wins this 10. Like it could be something like 17-15.
Mm-hmm.
It could very easily be that way. If you look at what their offense did against Jacksonville, their offense is not looking great right now, and they have to go to Chicago on the road. I so badly want to pick the Bears, man.
I am.
Because then every team after this, they don't play anyone of note until they play us on the 24th of November. Then they go to the Cardinals, then Atlanta, and then they have Tampa. So if anyone's going to beat New Orleans, it's going to be Chicago. But Chicago just lost one of their defensive tackles. I forget his name, but he's a badass. I don't know, man. I think the Saints are going to pull off another close one. I'll say 17-14 in New Orleans.
I got to disagree with you. I'm going to say that the Bears pull this one out because they need a win badly. They're playing against a backup quarterback, and I see the Saints putting up 13-14 points like they have 2 times in Teddy Bridgewater's tenure against the best defense in the NFL. I think that they're going to lose this game probably 17-13. Somewhere
I like it. I'm with you. All right, CK, what you got?
I'm only going with the trend here because every other game they scored 30 points, and meaning the Saints. I hate to say it, but I think there's no way the Bears survive against the Saints. That offense of the Bears is god awful. They got rid of Jordan Howard, and that was the worst mistake. I know they have Montgomery, but that is not doing anything. I think it's the Saints.
You got to use them.
Yeah,
that would help to give them the ball.
32-14. Saints.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right. So you're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. It's been a heck of a show tonight. It's been a long running show. I didn't think it would be like this. The number's 252-228-5098. If you're trying to get a hold of the podcast, we're going to have our next show won't be till Tuesday, though, because there is no post game, right? But before we go, we got to ice some fools up. And I'm going to start by icing up somebody that I don't think that maybe has been rarely done on this podcast, and it might be me just being a little emotional. But I'm icing up the Carolina Panthers and all other Panther media forms because this is why. I know it's weird, but the Panthers go to London, and we have this one little T-shirt that I put a couple of tweets out to a couple people, right? And what is the harm in retweeting that? What is the harm in if I send you not a single person who is another part of the kind of entities of whether it be a YouTuber, whether it be the team, only just people that are our friends and part of the show cared one little bit about that little t-shirt. Like, why? Why does it matter? It does not fucking matter. It's like we have 8 of them. There's literally like 8 over there. Why can't we just I retweet everybody's mess. I support all of y'all. We got to do this together. That's just me being crybaby-ish. Ice up. There you go.
Would anybody like to go next?
I can take it next. I'm going to say I'm going to ice up the entire Panthers training staff and
dang,
I guess
Panthers taking hits on the chin tonight.
Yeah, the training staff and the coaching staff. The training staff, based on what they have done with Cam Newton in his years here, where they have misdiagnosed him, or I don't know the full story, but I'm going to assume they've misdiagnosed him and what's going on. And the actual coaching staff for even entertaining the idea or even putting it out there in a story that's going to hit the internet about Cam Newton possibly being traded. If you think Cam Newton needs to be traded, you are a damn fool. I'm sorry. At me, at the Bat Daddy 52. I'll debate with you about it. I don't care. This guy has done more for this franchise than any other player ever in this franchise. And if you want to give up on him after a half a season or 2 games and a half a season of being injured, ice up. That's all I got to say. Ice up. Because he is the best athletic quarterback out there when he's healthy. Let's see him healthy. We'll see what happens. So, ice up to the staff, the training staff, and the coaching staff of the Panthers.
CK, you want to go next?
Yeah, man. Mine's not going to have anything to do with football tonight. It's actually going to have to do with my personal life. So, as you guys know, I'm buying a house. It's in the process of being built. But what happened was the appraisal came back for less than what we're paying for it. Now the reason I bring this up, guys, is that meant that I was going to have to come out of pocket for an extra $5,000. You know, it's not impossible. It was going to be hard, and I got the physical copy of the appraisal, and the mother fricker appraised the wrong house.
Oh no!
What?
He appraised
the wrong
house. Yeah,
oh, you poor fella.
He was inside a house that wasn't even the one that he was appraising.
What?
He walked into this joint. Oh my gosh, dude! And the square footage was wrong. It was hilarious. I called the lender this morning. I'm like, yeah, this is the wrong appraised house, and they said, well, it's the same house as yours. I'm like, no, it's different. You know, pretty incredibly different, actually. So, anyway, to that appraiser who walked into a house that wasn't the one that was supposed to be appraised and appraised it, ice up, son, ice up.
God, well, poor guy. Because it's a nightmare to unravel that crap once it happens. You know how many hours you got to spend on the phone, how many documents. Probably got to go send them to mailbox.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was gonna say, CK, dude, real quick. I'm in the due diligence period right now of buying my house, and you're right, dude. It is a bitch to get them to do the right things. So I totally feel you on that ice up pick, man. Like,
when I bought my first house, the lady who was doing the loan said this: "It's not yours until the keys are in your hand."
Exactly.
Like that she was like, that was it. I was like, when do you think we'll know? She'll be like, not until you moved in. Like 30 days later. All right. Cody, what you got?
So mine's a little bit broad and it's a little bit overarching, but it's very important because you're seeing what people believe in. And I'm icing up a few corporations. I'm icing up Blizzard. I'm icing up Apple. And I'm icing up the NBA. Because all these corporations that I just mentioned have a China problem.
Oh, God.
And this problem is not going away. And you have people that are choosing to silence and shut their own opinions up over people that are fighting for their democracy, for their freedom. And you have people like LeBron James and Harden just putting their foot in their mouth, censoring their own selves due to the will of the Chinese dictatorship. I mean, dude, it shows that the almighty dollar is still king in the NFL.
Exactly.
The
NBA too.
The NBA. I mean, they will shut up. They will do whatever their financial interests dictate them to do. And these are the same people that shit all over Donald Trump. And I'm no Donald Trump fan, but if you're gonna have the courage to speak out against people in power, but you're not going to have the same courage to do the same thing to a communist dictatorship, dude, come on, man. To all the spineless, cowardice cucks that are bending over to a foreign government, ice up, son.
Dude, I agree with you, man. I love LeBron James, but I got to agree with you. At this point, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, thank you, Cody. And you're right. And I tell you, for that is God, sometimes you just need to know your place. And what I mean by that is, no, but I'm talking to people who need to understand that they often need to know that they are in these positions where they have money, influence, and voice.
Right.
They should know their place.
Oh, sorry.
They should know their place, and their place is to use that voice to not use it unjustly,
and
right? Or unrighteously.
It makes them all the more dumb that they speak out on other social issues, but on
right,
this,
exactly.
Now that affects their pocket and their bottom line. But now all of a sudden you need to be respectful and not piss off the potential billions of dollars that's set to be made in mainland China. There you go. It's bullshit, man.
Well,
but that's an interesting, statement. I'm going to leave it at this. But when you think about it from that perspective, all of these people that are willing to speak out against social injustice, it almost makes you wonder about their motives with that, right? Because if it is all about the dollar. Is it about I'm going to market myself as a man of the people by speaking out against this injustice? Does this not now demolish or diminish rather?
Exactly.
In
my opinion, I think it shows that they're all about the money, and that's the only reason they spoke out before.
100%.
Or if they're dumb, if they're so dumb. Right? If they're so dumb on these issues like Cody's pointing out, you're right. It completely undermines their credibility in other places. So you need to be, as an ambassador of the United States, an ambassador of social justice, at least aware of where the hell you're at and what the hell's going on enough to be a positive force in that. Rather than the opposite.
Sorry.
So,
absolutely.
All right.
And hey, stand with the people in Hong Kong, man. They want the right to vote and not be subjugated by a dictatorship, dude.
Agreed.
That's all I'm saying.
I understand that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast. If you listen to this point, you are pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. So thank you.
Agreed.
That's crazy that you guys are still with us. Thank you so much for your support. My name's Tony Dunn. We'll be here Tuesday night again live for a long time next Tuesday as we get ready for the 49ers game. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Cody, where can they get after you?
At Cody Lax, CODYLAC on Twitter. By the way, guys, even though it's bi-weekly now, I'm still doing draft tech comments. So if you're already interested in draft and what players to look out for, go to drafttech.com. We have one coming up this Wednesday. There's going to be another one. That's drafttech.com. I'm the analyst for the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans. So Look out for my stuff.
Very nice.
Bat Daddy, where can they get after you?
Man, just simply like you said, you can find me at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter. Contact me personally, or I have another podcast. It's the Super Civil Servants podcast. We talk about movies, TV shows, comic books, literature, just about anything out there you can read or absorb. And we are doing a podcast this week on the Joker, the movie review. So hit us up at SCS Podcast 1, but right there at SCS Podcast 1 or at the BatDaddy52. Hit me up.
CK, did you get any followers last week?
Like 3 or 4.
Yes.
You guys.
follow CK.
I'm up to like 80, so it's cool.
Baddest ass handle ever.
What'd you say?
You got the baddest ass handle ever, man.
Yeah, it's at Codizzle Allen.
Follow them, fools. Follow them. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast. Let's go the hell to bed. Good night, folks. Keep pounding.
Peace and love, everybody. Keep pounding.
See you Tuesday.
And girls.
And YouTube, if I can find it. Yes. All right.